Chapter 490. Although Ma Rongjin was in dire straits now, he had been in the entertainment circle for many years and was experienced. Therefore, he understood what was going on when he heard Lu Chen's words. "No," he replied firmly. "Even if there is, I will never leave the cast unless young Master Lu asks me to." Lu Chun and Chun Wenxiang looked at each other and saw a trace of relief in each other's eyes. If Ma Rongjin also ran away, it would be really troublesome. Lu Chun was relieved and said with a smile, "That's good. Don't worry, I definitely won't let you go. Let's work hard together and make this movie a good one." The character of this veteran actor was undoubtedly trustworthy. Ma Rongjin asked with concern, "Master Lu, does Lu Jiaohui not want to make the movie?" Lu Chun and Chen Wenxiang were both stunned. The latter asked in surprise, "Brother Rongjin, how did you know?" "This man." Ma Rongjin's eyes flashed a touch of disdain and said, "He is not only cunning, but also extremely afraid of death. If someone casually threatens him, he will definitely shrink back. There is nothing strange about it." It could be seen that Ma Rongjin despised Lu Jiaohui very much. They probably had some grievances in the past. Lu Chen didn't care about their gossip. He cared about Ma Rongjin himself. "Uncle Ma, aren't you afraid that Shunyi Hall is behind Honghua?" Ma Rongjin smiled and said, "What am I afraid of? My life is worthless now. If Shunyi Hall makes trouble for me, then I will risk my life to fight with them. The current Hong Kong is not the Hong Kong of decades ago. The Jiang family can't cover the sky in Hong Kong." Ma Rongjin said frankly, "If Shunyi Hall makes trouble for me in the past, maybe I will shrink back like Lu Jiaowei. But now I'm really not afraid of anything. My wife and children have long run away, and I am the only one left at home. If they're not afraid of causing public anger, then they can do whatever they want. If Jiang Changhua dares to ruin my life, I will dare to lie in front of his father's door with my mother. Let's see who will lose face." Lu Chun was a little speechless, but he was finally relieved about Ma Rongjin. "Still, you have to pay attention to your safety. Be careful of their dirty tricks." Ma Rongjin smiled. "Young Master Lu, I don't think they will chase me away. I don't have a good reputation in the industry. Box office poison." Lu Chen suddenly remembered Ma Rongjin's nickname and laughed involuntarily. Ma Rongjin sighed and said, "Actually, when encountering such a situation, the best solution is to find a big shot. Unfortunately, I don't have any face now. I'm sorry that I can't help you." "You can't say that." Lu Chen shook his head and said, "Uncle Ma, you're helping me by insisting on staying in the crew." Although the crew was facing constant troubles, the filming work could not be interrupted because of this, otherwise the loss would be great. Lu Chen did not hold back any of those who chose to quit the cast. Anyone who wanted to leave could leave. Nothing that was forced would not be sweet. As for Lu Jiaohui, he was invited by Jiayong Pictures. Naturally, Jiayong Pictures would give an explanation. That night, Zhou Yi, the boss of Jiayong Pictures, called Lu Chen again. Through a middleman, Honghua gave a settlement condition. Buying shares is a must. "Zhou," he said over the phone. His voice sounded very tired and weak. "As for how much shares, we need to sit down and discuss it. The middleman's bottom line is no less than 35%. Honghua will set up a new film company to participate in the shooting and distribution of the new film as the main shareholder. They wanted at least 35% of the film shares." The last bit of hope in Lu Chen's heart was gone. These gangs and societies were so greedy that giving them even 1% wasn't a good idea. But he still listened to Zhou Yi patiently. In addition, Honghua suggested that they choose someone to be the director and producer. The male and female leads can remain the same. Well, Lu Chen could not listen to it anymore. The most important members of the film crew would always be the director and producer. Sometimes the two might be one, but most of the time, they jointly controlled the fate of the film. Honghua not only wanted to buy shares, but also wanted to take away the director and producer. It was equivalent to controlling the life and death of a Chinese ghost story in their own hands. How could Lu Chen agree? "Boss Zhou, you don't have to say anymore. I will not agree to any of their conditions. If they insist on making trouble, then I can only accompany them to the end." Lu Chen's answer was resolute, with unshakable determination and confidence. That was never to bow down. Zhou, he was not surprised. If it were him, he would rather break up the business than agree to such bad conditions. That was equivalent to directly kneeling on the ground. After thinking for a moment, he still said his guess. Young Master Liu, I think their ultimate goal is not to ask for shares, but to drive you away from Xiangjiang. Zhou, he put himself in Honghua's shoes. If he was interested in the movie A Chinese Ghost Story and wanted to take it by force, the time to choose to make trouble was not now. The best time was when the filming was halfway through. At that time, Liu Chen had invested a large amount of money. If he withdrew, the loss would be great, and he might give in. Now that he had just started, he wanted to buy shares in the director and producer. Did he really think others were idiots? Therefore, Zhou, he suspected that Honghua's purpose was to drive Liu Chen away. Liu Chen felt that Zhou Yi's guess was very reasonable, but he was very puzzled. What good will it do for Honghua if I leave? Liu Chen came to Xiangjiang to shoot a movie, so there should be no conflict with Honghua, who is currently in the food and beverage business. Moreover, he had previously ordered boxed lunches from the latter to do business. Zhou Yi said, I don't know, but I know that Jiang Chenghua is a very smart person. He doesn't do business that loses money, and he won't waste time and energy on things that harm others without benefiting himself. So as to what the truth is, I can only find a way to find out. Be careful here. After ending the call with Zhou Yi, Liu Chen thought for a moment and dialed Wan Yang's cell phone. After so many things had happened, although the crew had already called the police and complained to the management of the film city, the safety of the crew still had to be maintained by themselves. Therefore, he asked Wan Yang to personally stay on the set to look after the equipment at night. After giving a few serious instructions to Wan Yang, Liu Chen went to bed to rest. The next morning, he was woken up from his sleep by the urgent ringing of the phone. Opening his eyes, Liu Chen immediately turned over and grabbed the landline on the bedside table. He put the phone to his ear. Hello? Wan Yang's excited voice came from the phone. Young Master Liu, we caught the two guys who caused trouble. What? Liu Chen was suddenly completely awake. Chapter 491. In the early morning of yesterday, someone threw the dead cat into the famed temple set, which made Wan Yang angry. Liu Chen did not blame the people in charge of guarding the set, because the set was so big, and without any monitoring equipment, the people who stayed behind could only guard the important equipment and could not prevent this kind of malicious behavior. But Wan Yang felt ashamed, because the people guarding the set were several members of the Liu family squad, who were also his subordinates. He felt that he was responsible for such a thing happened. Wan Yang was not an ordinary person. He had been in the army for many years, and had already honed an extraordinary skill and also mastered special military skills. But after retiring from the army, there had been no place for him to use them. Now that such a situation had happened, Wan Yang certainly could not tolerate a few people from the gangs who unscrupulously caused trouble under his eyes. So last night, he personally led a team to guard the set. And after discussing with Liu Chen, he also bought a set of simple local monitoring equipment and set it up. Once this former elite in the army became serious, a few petty thieves were completely not enough. They were also caught in the early morning of this day, and they were caught red-handed. Just two little yellow-haired boys. Wan Yang said proudly, I used a little means to deal with them, and they all confessed. They are the henchmen of Honghua, usually responsible for delivering lunchboxes, and so on. They sent us 2 dead dogs and a bucket of dog blood, trying to pollute our set. Not only did they throw the dead cat away, but they also sprinkled dog blood. Liu Chen finally saw the shamelessness and filth of this kind of gang. He asked, did they get hurt? Xiangjiang was a place of law, and it was the Anglo-American legal system, so there were a lot of lawyers, and trivial matters often had to be solved in court. Wan Yang did not call the police immediately after catching the troublemakers, but first vented his anger. If they really got hurt, then things would be very troublesome. At that time, Honghua would definitely use this as a pretext, and the crew would become unreasonable. Wan Yang smiled and said, don't worry about my methods. Even if I send these two guys to the hospital for an MRI scan, they definitely won't be able to detect any injuries. Originally, I had prepared more than 10 methods, but in the end, before I even finished 2 of them, they already confessed everything with snot and tears on their faces. Lucien didn't know whether to laugh or cry because it sounded like Wang Yong wasn't satisfied. He said, "You've done a good job. I'll come over now and call the police when I arrive." If he was present when the police arrived, he should be able to put some pressure on them. After thinking about it, Lu Qian gave Zhou Yi a call. In the end, it was Zhou Yi's assistant who picked up the phone, saying that the boss was still resting. Lu Qian did not mind and informed the other party about the situation at the set. Then, he hurriedly washed up and contacted Chen Wenxiang to rush to Lion Rock together. Chen Wenxiang was very happy when he found out that the culprit had been caught red-handed. He said that he had finally gotten his revenge. He believed that this time, Honghua's side would have to suffer a little in the lawsuit and reduce the pressure on the production team. However, to the two of them's surprise, Wang Yong made a call halfway through the car. Just a few minutes ago, a group of people wearing Honghua's restaurant uniforms appeared at Fein Temple. They blocked the entrance of the set and clamored for the crew to release the culprit. "How arrogant!" Lu Qian replied without hesitation. "Call the police immediately and guard the set. Don't let them break in. Uncle Chong and I will be there in 10 minutes. Wang Yong said, "Don't worry, the people here are all good. Unless they use their weapons, I can guarantee that they won't be able to break in even if there are twice as many of them. Then it's all up to you." After ending the call with Wang Yong, Lu Qian said to Chen Wenxiang, "Uncle Chong, inform the management of the studio." To be honest, Lu Qian was very dissatisfied with the management of Lion Rock Studio. It was impossible for them to be completely unaware of such a problem that the crew of A Chinese Ghost Story had encountered, but they pretended to be deaf and dumb. Lu Qian would never believe that there was no internal collusion between Honghua and the management of the studio. It was nothing more than taking advantage of the fact that he was an outsider. But even though he was angry, Lu Qian still had to do what he had to do. No matter what the management's reaction was, he had to clearly express his attitude. The Mercedes-Benz MPV carrying the two of them sped up. Zhang Xiaofeng displayed his driving skills without saying a word. The distance that would normally have taken 10 minutes to complete took only 5 minutes to reach the destination. After parking the car in the parking lot, the three of them hurried to the set. From afar, they saw a group of people surrounding the gate of Fein Temple, confronting Wang Yong and several crew members. The police had not arrived yet, and the people from the studio were nowhere to be seen. However, there were a few paparazzi sneaking around with cameras in their hands. They were probably hired by Honghua. There were about 20 or 30 people surrounding the set. They were all very young and wore blue uniforms with the Honghua restaurant logo printed on them. They looked very arrogant. "Release them immediately, or don't blame us for being rude. Brothers, the mainlanders have detained our brothers. Can we agree? Release them. Apologize. Pay up. What bullsh asterisk T crew is this? You snatched our jobs and captured our people. I'll fight you today. Go back to the mainland." Most of these people from Honghua were barehanded, but there were also a few who were holding baseball bats. As early as the 70s and 80s, when the gangs in Xinjiang were at their strongest, the fights between the major triad organizations were extremely fierce, and people were often killed. At that time, machetes and daggers were a necessity for everyone. Pistols and even rifles had appeared in gang fights. At that time, ordinary people in Xinjiang felt insecure. They were afraid that they would be stabbed or eaten by a stray bullet while walking on the street. Some gang members were simply unreasonable and dared to kill people over trivial matters. This kind of social reality was also reflected in Xinjiang's movies and TV series. Gangster movies were popular at that time, and the protagonists in the movies were often members of gangs. The deliberate whitewashing and flattering of the protagonists affected countless young people in Xinjiang. After several severe attacks, these violent gangs had already disappeared. Later on, the rising gangs would put on a layer of legal armor and would no longer fight and kill at every turn. Moreover, The Xianjiang government had extremely strict control over firearms and control knives. Once violated, they would be severely punished. No one dared to openly go on the streets. But a dog can't stop eating sh*t. As the most direct and effective method, the factor of violence had long been deeply ingrained in the bones of the gang members. Many times, they would still flaunt their strength. Of course, controlled knives and firearms were definitely not allowed to be used. If they were used, it would be a taboo. Therefore, the hard and easy-to-use baseball bats became the best weapon for these people. It was not against the law to hold a baseball bat, but when they hit people, they were still fierce and full of deterrence. When Lu Chen appeared on the set with Chun Wenxiang and Zhang Xiaofeng, someone immediately noticed him. Chapter 492. That's him. He's the celebrity boss from the mainland. Stop him. Don't let him run away. Let our brothers come out. Hurry up. Several of Hong Hua's men recognized Lu Chen at the first moment. As if they had found a treasure, they quickly surrounded Lu Chen while shouting and shouting. Each of them had an ominous glint in their eyes. One of them was a young man with a flat-top haircut. There was a dark blue tattoo on his neck, and he held a wooden baseball bat in his hand. He rushed to Lu Chen at the fastest speed. As he rushed, he cursed, "Bastard! How dare you detain my brother? Go to hell." At the same time, he raised the baseball bat in his hand high. The bat was shiny and reflective in the morning sun, which was very deterrent. Seeing that the situation was not good, Zhang Xiaofeng immediately rushed to protect Lu Chen. Lu Chen reached out to stop him and said in a deep voice, "You protect Uncle Chong. I'll deal with him." While speaking, Lu Chen did not stop and rush to the other side without showing any weakness. The young man with a flat-top haircut was very surprised. In his impression, a delicate and noble star artist like Lu Chen is the most timid in the face of violence and intimidation. He believes that as long as he puts on a good posture, he can definitely scare Lu Chen to the point of wetting his pants. Then his goal would be achieved. However, what the young man with a flat-top haircut never expected was that in the face of him and the baseball bat in his hand, not only did Lu Chen not show the slightest fear, but he also put on a posture to fight. This is not right. The young man with a flat-top haircut didn't really want to hit Lu Chen, because if he really hurt someone, especially a celebrity from the mainland, the consequences would be absolutely serious. Even his boss might not be able to protect him. The Hong Kong government's crackdown on violence was very strict, not to mention that the victim was a celebrity. However, if the young man with a flat-top haircut chose to retreat at this time, he would lose his face. With so many brothers watching, he would become a joke in the martial arts world if it was spread out. As a member of a club, his head could be chopped off and his blood could flow, but he could not afford to lose face. At this moment, several thoughts flashed through the young man's mind. In the end, the violent emotions hidden deep in his heart prevailed. He growled and swung the baseball bat at Lu Chen's left shoulder. Otherwise, it would be no problem to smash someone's head to smack them to death. Moreover, he still reserved some strength. As long as he could successfully scare Lu Chen, it would be enough to let Lu Chen suffer a little. This was also specially instructed by the people above. The young man with the crew cut could be considered a smart person, but unfortunately, he was facing Lu Chen. When he saw the other party brandishing his weapon, Lu Chen suddenly sped up. His body rushed forward like an arrow shot from a bow, like a ferocious beast pouncing on its prey. In the blink of an eye, he collided with the young man with the crew cut. At the moment of collision, Lu Chen turned his body sideways and rammed the back of his shoulder into his opponent's chest. Bang! Accompanied by a dull, low sound, the young man with the crew cut flew out involuntarily, as if he had been hit head-on by a raging bull. He collided with a few of his companions behind him, and instantly became a gourd rolling on the ground. Screams, cries of pain, and the sound of bodies colliding intertwined, causing the other people of Hong Hua to be stunned. What was going on? The result of the collision was too unexpected, and they felt that their common sense had been subverted. Many of these street gangsters chased after celebrities, but they never thought that the awe-inspiring actors and actresses in the movies and television had real skills. For people like them, if they had a machete in hand, it would not be a problem for them to chop down 18 or 19 kings and queens. The young man with the crew cut was a small leader of Hong Hua, and he was a very combative member of the club. Although he did not hold a machete in his hand, his baseball bat was not to be trifled with. However, in just one round, the young man with the crew cut was KO'd by Lu Chun, and even the others were unlucky. This did not make sense. Don't even think about escaping. While everyone was still in a daze, Wan Yong, who was stationed at the entrance of the film set, rushed out with a group of crew members. They didn't have many people, and there were only a mere 8 of them, including Wan Yong. But when faced with an opponent that was 3 to 4 times their number, they were like a group of ferocious tigers that had descended the mountain and brazenly slaughtered their way into a pack of wolves. Last night, most of the Liu family squad that Lu Chun had arranged to stay at the film set finally revealed their sharp fangs. All the members of the Liu family squad were retired military personnel, and they were good at grappling and close combat. Furthermore, they had undergone strict training and were on a completely different level from Hong Hua's gangsters. Their previous forbearance was only to wait for Lu Chun's arrival. Now that Lu Chun had personally made a move, of course Wan Yong would not just stand by and watch. He immediately commanded the Liu family squad to move out. The battle, from the very beginning, showed a one-sided trend. Although Hong Hua's gangsters had the advantage in numbers, in terms of organization, action, and combat effectiveness, they could not be compared to the former at all. Therefore, in an instant, they threw away their helmets and abandoned their armor. The Liu family squad, led by Wan Yong, captured a gangster and used the plastic buckles that they carried with them to tie up his hands. There were also gangsters who tried to resist, but the result of resistance was even worse. They were punched heavily in the stomach or thrown to the ground, suffering greatly. This was the result of the Liu family squad deliberately controlling their strength. Otherwise, if they were to fight to the death, half of them would be completely lying on the ground within half a minute, never to get up again. The few who dared to resist were all defeated. Seeing their companions being taken care of one by one, the others were scared out of their wits. They threw down the sticks in their hands and ran away like rats. It was really embarrassing to the extreme. At this moment, the paparazzi who were squatting not far away were extremely excited. They raised their respective long and short cameras and took pictures of the scene, for fear of missing a wonderful scene. Of course, Lu Chun saw it, but he had no intention of interfering. Today's counterattack was completely justified, and he wasn't afraid, even if it was brought to court. What he needed was a hearty victory like this to establish his prestige and reputation. Otherwise, he would only be tired of dealing with Hong Hua's endless sinister tactics and be at a complete disadvantage. When it was time to make a move, Lu Chun would rather go back to the mainland if he had to be cautious and indecisive in every matter. Woo woo woo, the heart-palpitating sound of police sirens came from afar, telling everyone that the police had arrived. Interestingly, the gangsters who were put on the ground breathed a sigh of relief. Since the police were here, they were not in any danger. In fact, it was not only the police who showed up, but also the people from the Film City's management organization. The ruins of Fane Temple, located in a remote corner of Lion Rock Hill, had never been as lively as it was now. While Chen Wenxiang was negotiating with the police and the management of Film City, Lu Chun made a second call to Zhou Yi. Chapter 493. This time, it was Zhou Yi who answered the phone. He said in a deep voice, "Young Master Lu, I'm on my way. I'll be there in a few minutes at most." Zhou Yi was a very shrewd businessman, and in many cases, shrewdness could also be interpreted as cunning. When it came to dealing with Hong Hua, Zhou Yi was very cunning and was unwilling to share the pressure for Lu Chun. But now his attitude was impeccable. As a well-known businessman in Xiangjiang, Zhou Yi's strength and status could not be compared with the top tycoons. He was not an ordinary rich man, and he had a considerable status. His coming to the set in person was undoubtedly another sign of support for Lu Chun. Lu Chen was too lazy to guess what Zhou Yi was thinking. He first briefly described what had just happened on the phone, and finally said to Zhou Yi straightforwardly, "Boss Zhou, I'm going to hold a media conference immediately to clarify the truth of the matter to the media and the public, and denounce Honghua's bad behavior at the same time. I want to know, how many influential media can you help me invite now?" Lu Chen emphasized the word influential. He believed that Zhou Yi understood what he meant. Of course, Zhou Yi understood that Lu Chen was going to fight with Honghua. And if Zhou Yi came forward to invite important media reporters, it meant that he was firmly tied to Lu Chen's chariot. It was impossible for him to waver like before, and he had to clearly support Lu Chen. Young people nowadays were really amazing. Zhou Yi was silent and also thinking. However, Lu Chen did not let him delay, and said very bluntly, "Boss Zhou, if you can't do it, then you don't have to come." This was Lu Chen's last ultimatum. If he wanted to continue to cooperate, then he had to show a cooperative attitude. Otherwise, everyone would break up. Zhou Yi sighed and said, "Give me half an hour." Of course, he did not want to directly go against the Jiang family. A moment of pleasure would not help his business at all, and it would cause unnecessary trouble instead. Zhou Yi did not like trouble. What he liked was to earn money easily and quickly. However, in the current Xiangjiang, it was already very difficult to make money. The competition in the industry was extremely fierce. Even 1% of the profit might require 100% of the effort, and even a little bit of effort would cause one to lose everything. That was why Zhou Yi had acquired Jiang Pictures to invest in multiple areas. He did not want to put all his eggs in one basket. Zhou Yi was also very optimistic about Lu Chen's movie project. Based on his serious understanding of Lu Chen, he realized that this young man, who had debuted in the country less than 2 years ago, had already created many miracles. Those who followed Lu Chen, trusted Lu Chen, and supported Lu Chen had all received generous rewards. Because of this understanding, when faced with a choice, Zhou Yi placed all his chips on Lu Chen. Of course, he also had a trump card. A smile finally appeared on Lu Chen's face, and his tone became gentle. "An hour is fine. The press conference is scheduled to be held at 9:30. I have prepared the materials here." After making up his mind, Zhou Yi immediately showed the decisiveness that a real businessman should have. Okay, the matter of holding the press conference was officially settled. As soon as Lu Chen ended the call with Zhou Yi, Chen Wenxiang came to him with a policeman. "This is our boss, Mr. Lu Chen." Chen Wenxiang introduced. "This is Sergeant Fong from the Kowloon Tang Police Station." "Hello, Sergeant Fong." Lu Chen immediately took the initiative to extend his hand to him. "Thank you for your hard work." Sergeant Fong was a tall and thin middle-aged man. He shook hands with Lu Chen and said, "Hello, Mr. Lu Chen. The Lion Rock Film and Television City is within the jurisdiction of our police station. It is our duty to protect the safety of the filming crew. It's a pity that such a thing happened. We will increase the intensity of our patrols in the future." Lu Chen said with a smile, "Thank you." Sergeant Fong nodded. His eyes swept over Wan Yong and the other members of the Lu family squad, and he said casually, "The people in your crew are very good at martial arts." It was more than good. Of course, Sergeant Fong was very clear about the background of the mastermind of the disturbance, Honghua. He had even heard rumors that Honghua was dealing with a crew from the mainland, so he had been mentally prepared for what would happen today. But what he didn't expect was that Honghua, who came to make trouble, actually suffered such a big loss. More than 20 people were subdued on the spot, and they were so fast that he could only clean up the mess when he arrived with his team. This made Sergeant Fong vigilant. In the 70s and 80s, there was a special force in Hong Kong called the Big Circle Gang. Its members were all from the mainland, and their methods were particularly cruel. Later, they were the most severely suppressed. When Sergeant Fong was a child, he had a deep impression of the Big Circle Gang. The powerful members of the Lu family squad made him have some subtle associations. Lu Chen said with a smile, "They are martial arts masters in charge of staying on the set. They are all retired soldiers. Fortunately, they are." Lu Chen's words were meaningful. Hearing the word soldier, Sergeant Fong's pupils suddenly shrank, and his expression instantly froze. The soldiers of the Republic had a special deterrent power to the people of Hong Kong. After Hong Kong returned to the mainland, there had always been a garrison in Hong Kong. Later, when the Hong Kong government took action to crack down on the evil forces, the garrison participated in it, and their outstanding performance made the whole world look at them. But Sergeant Fong reacted very quickly and immediately said with a smile, "No wonder, no wonder. But we have to bring these troublemakers back to the police station for interrogation. Please believe that the police will definitely deal with them impartially." Imperceptibly, he was a little more polite to Lu Chun. "Thank you, Sergeant Fong." Lu Chun shook hands with him again. "Then I'll leave it to the police to deal with." Because the incident was a little big, the Kowloon Tong police station sent a number of police cars, including a riot police car. There were more than 20 police officers, so when they brought the troublemakers back, it was quite a big scene. Probably because the news had spread, there were more and more reporters around the set. Many paparazzi came out of nowhere and kept taking pictures of the police and the arrested Hong Chinese. Some reporters even went straight to Lu Chun. "Mr. Lu Chun, I'm a reporter from the Kowloon Express. Can you tell me what exactly happened?" Lu Chun stopped Zhang Xiaofeng, who was about to stop the reporters, and said, "Our crew will hold a media conference here at 9:30. All reporters are welcome to come and interview." After saying that, he ignored the reporters who were trying to continue asking questions and turned around to return to the set. "Lu Chun, Mr. Lu Chun." The other reporters who had just surrounded them could only see Lu Chun's back as he left. Chapter 494. At 9:30 a.m. on November 30th, the temporary media conference of the cast of A Chinese Ghost Story was held at the former site of the famed temple, which was the movie set. The media conference was held by Lu Chun Studio and Jiayong Pictures. In addition, the Lion Rock Film City Administration also sent a representative to the scene. The media invited to the scene included ATV, Ming Pao, Hong Kong Daily, Polo Daily, Entertainment News, Kowloon Radio Station. Except for a portion of the reporters who had rushed over after receiving the news, most of the others were invited by Zhou Yi using his connections. Otherwise, the major media outlets would not be interested in reporting on the incident itself. Zhou Yi used this opportunity to show off his strength. The layout of the media conference was very simple. There were 2 long tables put together and covered with a cloth as a podium. The chairs that the reporters sat on were temporarily borrowed from the management of the film city, so it looked quite simple. However, there was a projection screen and projector set up behind the podium, which gave people a very different feeling. When it was time, there were about 30 media outlets at the scene, with 40 to 50 reporters and photographers. The atmosphere at the scene was quite good, and it was not chaotic. Lu Chun and Zhou Yi were the first to take their seats, followed by Wan Xiaoquan, Chun Wenxiang, and then the representative of the Film City Administration. Finally, a middle-aged woman with gold-rimmed glasses came out and sat on the outermost seat. After Chun Wenxiang sat down, he turned to ask Lu Chun, "Mr. Lu, shall we begin?" Lu Chun nodded seriously. "Okay." Chun Wenxiang coughed. He sat up straight and said in the microphone, "Welcome, friends from the media, to the media conference of the cast of Chinese Ghost Story. Today, I have invited everyone here mainly to explain the bad things that have happened to our crew in the past few days." Chun Wenxiang had been in the industry for decades and was a true veteran. Although being a spokesman for the crew was not his job, he still did it well. His train of thought was very clear, and he told the ins and outs of the whole incident in detail. In the end, he said indignantly, "Xiangjiang is a legal society, but who would have thought that our crew would encounter such an encounter?" Honghua's bad behavior not only seriously affected the mood of the crew members, but also caused our shooting plan to be interrupted, causing great losses. So here, we sincerely ask our friends in the media to uphold justice. As soon as Chun Wenxiang finished speaking, the reporters looked at each other. Many of the reporters present were not very clear about what had happened when they were sent over. They only knew that the crew of A Chinese Ghost Story had a conflict with someone. Only now did they have a basic understanding. However, this kind of thing did not seem to have much hype value, unless the production crew of a Chinese ghost story wanted to hype it up. They thought that he had understood and was prepared to give him some face and socialize casually. However, the reporters who had witnessed the conflict between the two sides had a lot of questions. Immediately, someone raised his hand and stood up, asking loudly, "Mr. Lu Chun, did you hire a security guard to protect the crew so that the situation could be settled quickly?" Chen Wenxiang moved the microphone in front of Lu Chun. Lu Chun replied calmly, "The people who subdued the troublemakers weren't the security guards I hired. They were members of the film crew, and I brought them from the mainland." Lu family class? This term was quite fresh, and many reporters were curious. A reporter asked, "Can you introduce the Lu family class in detail?" He had seen the power of the members of the Lu family class with his own eyes. Ordinary martial artists did not have such high combat power. Lu Chan smiled faintly and said, "The Lu family class is a martial arts class that I personally organized and trained. At present, there are a total of 12 members and a head coach. They are responsible for filming the action scenes and stunts involved in the film and TV series." Taking advantage of this opportunity, Lu Chun officially pushed out the Lu family class. Although the Lu family class was still unknown and did not have any works, Lu Chun believed that in a few years, everyone in the Chinese circle would know this name. In the face of the reporters' questions, Lu Chun's answers were always calm and composed. Even if the other party's questions were a little over the top, he would easily avoid the trap, leaving no loopholes for the other party to exploit. If that was all, it would definitely not be enough to form a public opinion attack. Fortunately, Lu Chun had prepared for it. After answering a reporter's question, Lu Chun said seriously, "In fact, as far as this matter itself is concerned, although our crew suffered a certain loss, I believe that with the police handling it, they will definitely be able to seek justice for us. There's no need to mobilize so many people to invite you here." First, he flattered the police a little, and then Lu Chen's words suddenly changed. Was it not to seek justice for himself through the media? The reporters present were stunned. They felt that what Lu Chan said was too hypocritical. If it was not that, then what was it? Lu Chan saw their looks in his eyes, and the corners of his mouth curled up. He said calmly, "First, please watch a video. It was shot by the staff who stayed behind in our crew through the surveillance this morning. The screen and projector that were set up at the back were finally put to use. Under the control of the crew, the surveillance footage from this morning was quickly displayed in front of everyone's eyes. When the video was taken, it was already dawn. Coupled with the fact that the surveillance equipment was more advanced, the footage was very clear. Everyone could see two people sneaking around the set from outside. They were each holding a plastic bucket and a long plastic bag in their hands. From further away, they could vaguely see that someone was responsible for keeping watch. The truth was soon revealed. One of them opened the bag, picked up a dog corpse inside, and was about to throw it over the wall. However, at that moment, a few of the crew members rushed out and caught the two of them on the spot. The video froze there. Lu Chun turned around and said in a heavy tone, "What really angered me was not the bad behavior of Honghua towards our crew, but the fact that they didn't hesitate to kill small animals to achieve their own goals." As soon as he finished speaking, the scene on the screen instantly changed. There was a sudden scream from a scene. A few female reporters even closed their eyes, as they couldn't bear to watch. What was displayed on the screen was a photo of a dead dog. The photo was very well taken, and it clearly captured the tragic state of the dog. Its body was covered in blood, and the dog's eyes were wide open with its tongue sticking out. There was a bloody hole on its neck that was pierced by a sharp blade. The zoomed-in close-up was very visually impactful. Chapter 495. Using dead cats and dogs to intimidate people was a common tactic used by the members of the gangs. In the past, when the people in the gangs lent money to the loan sharks, the first step was to hang a bloody dead cat on the other party's door, meaning that if they didn't pay the money, the poor cat would be the example. Ever since the triad organization in Xinjiang was severely suppressed, the gangs and societies went from being in the light to being in the dark. Now, the usury rarely used this kind of method to collect debts. They changed to splashing red paint on the door of the house and painting big characters. The purpose was the same. However, the method of throwing dead cats and dogs to intimidate people was not extinct, so the media reporters present knew what was going on at a glance. The crew of A Chinese Ghost Story had offended the people from Honghua and was harassed by them in retaliation. This was undoubtedly a very disgusting act. The problem was that the photo that appeared on the 100-inch projection screen was so horrifying that people would have nightmares at night. Therefore, the knowledgeable reporters couldn't help but exclaim in shock. The next moment, the picture displayed on the screen switched. It was also a very bloody picture and a bucket of dog blood. Lu Chan said in a deep voice, "Xinjiang is a place of law and culture. Modern Xinjiang people are civilized and cultured. When I was in the mainland, I heard that Hong Kong has corresponding protection regulations for small animals and pets. They even set up a pet protection association. Even a stray dog can be properly protected. However, I never thought that in broad daylight, someone would cruelly kill innocent cats and dogs for a moment of pleasure. This is simply intolerable." At this time, the purpose of Lu Chen's media conference was already clear. Chen Wenxiang, the representative of the crew, has already told the ins and outs of the incident, so Lu Chen did not elaborate any further. He also did not shout at the top of his lungs to condemn the harassment of the crew by Honghua, but focused his condemnation on the other party's cruelty to small animals. It was simply a strange peek. None of the reporters present were fools. If they still could not figure out Lu Chen's intentions, they might as well quit the industry, because there was no future for them if they were too stupid. If Lu Chen focused on the conflict between the crew and Honghua and hoped to use the media to put pressure on them, it would not have much of an effect. The media was very shrewd and realistic. Zhou Yi had used his connections to get the reporters from the television stations and newspapers to rush over to attend the communication meeting. He had already done his best. The next step was to get many media outlets to create momentum at the same time. That would require a lot of energy. In addition, the news had to be explosive and a hot topic that could be hyped up. The incident of the Chinese Ghost Story crew being defamed was clearly far from meeting the standard. The most important thing was that Lu Chen came from the mainland. With the common xenophobic complex of many people in Hong Kong, when the crew he represented had a conflict with the local community, it was estimated that many people would gloat and be more willing to watch the show. After the reporters went back, they would give a corner of the newspaper the size of a piece of tofu. It was already very nice to say a few words lightly, and it would not have much effect on public opinion. The situation now was completely different. For this, Lu Chen turned sideways. His eyes fell on the middle-aged woman on the far right of the rostrum, and then he continued to say, "I specially sincerely invite Ms. Feng Jinyun, the deputy chairman of the Little Pet Protection Association of Xinjiang. Let's welcome Ms. Feng to speak." This middle-aged woman was well-dressed. She had a rich face and a cold expression. She gave people the feeling that she was not to be trifled with. Just now, everyone did not pay attention to her. They thought she was one of the members of the crew, but they did not expect her to be the deputy chairman of the Little Pet Protection Association. The full name of the Little Pet Protection Association was the Xinjiang Small Animals/Pets Protection Association. It was established in the 1990s. As a non-governmental public welfare organization, although it did not have a long history, it had a great influence in Xinjiang. Because the members of the Little Pet Protection Association covered the upper, middle, and lower levels of society, many celebrities and star artists were volunteers of the Little Pet Protection Association. The wives of many senior government officials in Xinjiang held important positions in the Little Pet Protection Association. Its potential power could be said to be huge. In recent years, many cases of animal abuse and pet abuse broke out in Xinjiang, which once became a hot topic in society. Among them, the Little Pet Protection Association could not be separated from it. What made people afraid was that some members of the Little Pet Protection Association protected cats and dogs to an almost abnormal degree. If anyone violated their taboo, it would be really big trouble. There was once a white-collar worker who killed a stray dog. After the incident was exposed, he was besieged by the people of the Little Pet Protection Association. Not only did he lose his job, but he was also forced to kneel at the dog's funeral, which made a lot of noise. Therefore, in the face of the Little Pet Protection Association, which had a mixed reputation, many people could not afford to provoke it and could only hide from it. Even the dog meat stalls in Xinjiang disappeared, and famous dishes such as dragon and tiger fight also disappeared from the menu. Lu Chun actually invited this great god to attack his opponent. Everyone had a feeling of absurdity in their hearts. Did he have to be so ruthless? But they had to admit that his counterattack was extremely brilliant. Even the underworld could not afford to offend the Little Pet Protection Association. This was an extra-large hornet's nest, which was directly smashed by Lu Chun in Hong Hua's face, and the evidence was irrefutable. Sure enough, as soon as Ms. Feng Jinyun opened her mouth, she scolded the people of Hong Hua. She was simply filled with righteous indignation, and she kept scolding for a full 7 or 8 minutes. Her fighting power was so strong that it made people look at her. The reporters still had to listen patiently, because their superiors or the boss's wife might be a member of the Little Pet Protection Association, a volunteer, or a close friend of a member. In Xinjiang, caring for small animals and pets was the right way of public opinion, and smart people would not do the opposite. As for those gangsters of Hong Hua, before they caught cats and dogs to torture and scare people, the circuit in their brain probably did not have the existence of the words Little Pet Protection Association. However, these people would soon know how terrifying the existence of the Little Pet Protection Association was. Lu Chun, who gave the microphone to Feng Jinyun, looked solemn on the surface, but in his heart, he was secretly amused. Before he came to Xinjiang, Chun Fei told him a lot of things about Xinjiang, including the mention of the Little Pet Protection Association. For example, if a movie or TV needed to use small animals as props, then it must be arranged through the Little Pet Protection Association. Otherwise, once someone complained about animal abuse, there would be a lot of trouble. The movie A Chinese Ghost Story did not need animal actors, but this morning when he came over and saw the 2 dead dogs, he immediately thought of the Little Pet Protection Association. So he inquired about the 24-hour hotline of the Little Pet Protection Association through the voice station and called it. As a result, the other party directly sent a deputy chairman. Chapter 496. The Little Pet Protection Association had the largest number of members among all the civil associations in Hong Kong. Therefore, in addition to the 2 bosses, the president and the chairman, there were 20 or 30 vice chairmen and directors. People thought that a position with more people was worthless. Those who could be a director in the Little Pet Protection Association were basically celebrities and the families of high-ranking officials in Hong Kong. Needless to say, Feng Jinyun's identity was 100% capable of controlling the situation. The media reporters present knew how powerful she was. They didn't dare to explode or ask sensitive questions. They obediently completed the questioning process of Feng Jinyun so that they could write something when they went back. After Feng Jinyun scolded to her heart's content, she returned the microphone to Lu Chun. Lu Chun said, "Thank you very much, Ms. Feng Jinyun. I think it is the responsibility of the whole society to protect small animals and pets. Similar tragedies should not happen again. So on behalf of the crew of A Chinese Ghost Story, I have decided..." Speaking of this, Lu Chun's tone paused. The reporters were suddenly refreshed. Their professional sensitivity made them realize that new information was about to be revealed. They heard Lu Chun say, "Hand over the 2 dogs who unfortunately died to the Little Pet Protection Association to bury. In the name of Lu Chun Studio, I will personally donate 5 million to the Little Pet Protection Association as support for the cause of animal protection." 5 million. A lot of people were stunned. Hong Kong was economically developed, and was the place where the world-renowned rich lived. It was not big news that celebrities often took out tens of millions or hundreds of millions to do charity donations. Compared with the amount of money donated by these rich people, 5 million was really nothing. But considering the current situation and the object of the donation was the Little Pet Protection Association, Lu Chen's generosity was really big. Lu Chen undoubtedly used this money to declare his determination and confidence to fight to the end with Honghua. In Hong Kong, it was recognized common sense not to fight with the rich. With the 5 million Lu Chen spent, at least he had made a big ally in the Little Pet Protection Association, so he definitely couldn't bear the loss in front of him. His opponent was in trouble. Many reporters were gloating for Honghua, sympathizing with the latter for choosing the wrong target and catching a big shark. How could someone who could casually take out 5 million be easy to deal with? They quickly recorded it down. These were all revelations that could be used in gossip news. More reporters rushed to stand up and ask questions. Mr. Lu Chen saw the different performance of these media reporters before and after and knew that he had made the right move. Although this 5 million donation was a little baffling, the effect it brought was undoubtedly very good. First of all, he had won the support of the Little Pet Protection Association, allowing him to defeat Honghua and the Jiang family behind it. Secondly, this sum of money could also be used as a marketing fee for a Chinese ghost story. It was normal to spend another 10 to 20 million on marketing for a movie with an investment of 30 million yuan. 5 million was not much. The most important thing was to let the media hype it up and let the general public in Hong Kong know about it. The money spent would be worth it. The media conference started at 9:30 and ended at 10:45. At the end of the meeting, all the reporters present received a red packet. This was the default rule. However, the reporters no longer cared about the thickness of the red envelope. They were all in a hurry to rush back to their respective places, ready to release the news as soon as possible. Of course, all the media received a copy of the information, which included the surveillance video and the high-definition photos that had been projected and played earlier. It could be said that there were pictures to prove the truth. Lu Chen and Zhou Yi sent Madame Feng Jinyan off together. Watching the other party's car leave, Zhou Yi's mood was extremely complicated. He had never thought that Lu Chen would actually play such a beautiful counterattack, turning Honghua's intimidation into a big handle that they could use against him. He reckoned that he would not be able to rest in peace even if he died. The final donation of 5 million made Zhou Yi look at him in a different light. He suddenly realized that he might have underestimated Lu Chen. His previous wavering stance was undoubtedly a mistake. Fortunately, he had come personally in the morning. Thinking quickly, Zhou Yi said decisively, "I will send someone to keep an eye on the media. You don't have to worry about the expenses. I guarantee that it will make the headlines of several newspapers." Making the headlines meant that he had to spend a lot of money. Lu Chen knew that Zhou Yi was expressing his attitude, so he smiled and said, "Then I'll leave it to you, Boss Zhou." Although Zhou Yi's previous performance was not very good, which made Lu Chen unhappy, the other party still chose to stand with him, so the cooperation between the two could still continue. The movie produced by Lu Chen Studio was inseparable from the support of the local film company. The 5 million plus the Little Pet Protection Association and the power of a few photos were quickly shown through the media. The first to leak the news were a few online media, and then there were photos and videos on Hong Kong's forums and blogs, which attracted the attention of many netizens. Especially the bloody and horrifying photos of the dead dog. It aroused the anger of many people. They all left comments online, condemning such inhumane behavior. And this was only the beginning. That night, ATV's Current Affairs channel was the first to report the incident on TV. The next day, Ming Pao, Hong Kong Daily, Polo Daily, and other important newspapers all published the same dog abuse news. Many small and medium-sized newspapers even made the headlines. Public opinion was in an uproar. The proportion of wealthy people in Hong Kong raising pets was very high, especially in the upper class. Those celebrities and rich wives would raise famous dogs and cats. Every year, they would hold a pet beauty contest, and the prize money was very high. Therefore, the pet industry in Hong Kong was a very profitable market. The influence of the Little Pet Protection Association had a wide base of people. So when the news of the killing of cats and dogs appeared again, with the media adding fuel to the fire, it naturally caused a wave of public opinion. It could even be said to be a storm. The big newspapers still had a bit of professional ethics. They pixelated a few of the bloody pictures, but the smaller newspapers didn't have so much integrity. They directly published the original pictures, coupled with sensational bold and black headlines, and the effect was very good. The initiator of the incident, Honghua Restaurant, was like a big hornet's nest. That afternoon, the company's gate was surrounded by a group of indignant protesters. A few of the company's gangsters couldn't stand the abuse and wanted to come out with baseball bats to drive the people away. As a result, before they could get out of the gate, they were attacked by rotten tomatoes and rotten eggs like raindrops and retreated awkwardly. In desperation, the person in charge of the company could only call the police for help. In the end, what they waited for was a summons from the police station, telling them to go to the police station to explain the situation. The dog abuse incident was blown out of proportion. Chapter 497. The Jiang family's mansion was located at 15 Changjiao Road, Banshan District. The Banshan District of Hong Kong was a high-class residential area located between the top of Taiping Mountain and the Central Ring. The location was excellent, and many buildings could directly overlook the busy Victoria Harbor. Therefore, it was favored by Hong Kong's rich and affluent immigrants. There were many historic villas and mansions in the Banshan district, and the Jiang family's mansion was one of them. It was built 50 years ago by the Jiang family's grandfather with all his savings. It was a combination of Chinese and Western style, and it was quite famous among the mansions in the Banshan district. The Jiang family had gone through ups and downs for decades, and there was a time when they were close to bankruptcy. However, the Jiang family had never thought of selling this valuable ancestral house because this big house represented the roots of the Jiang family, and it was a symbol of the spirit of maintaining the unity of the family. Only those who lived in the Jiang family's mansion were qualified to lead the entire Jiang family. Jiang Chenghua moved out of the Jiang family's mansion 10 years ago. As an independent child, he rarely came back unless it was necessary. This was because this luxurious and imposing mansion always gave him an oppressive feeling, making it difficult for him to breathe. He didn't know how comfortable it was to live outside. But today, he had no choice but to come, because the owner of this mansion, his father, was in a terrible rage. The moment he stepped into the gate, Jiang Chenghua couldn't help but smile bitterly. If there was medicine for regret in the world, he would buy one even if it cost him tens of millions of yuan to turn back time to a week ago. In this way, Jiang Chenghua could prevent a tragedy from happening. As the boss of Honghua Restaurant, he had been under great pressure from all sides in the past few days. Jiang Chenghua really didn't expect that a small matter that he thought could be easily solved would turn into a storm of public opinion against him. The dog abuse incident had been hyped up in Hong Kong, and Honghua Company had been thrown a lot of rotten eggs and rotten tomatoes, forcing them to temporarily close down. And he himself had become a street rat. His fair-weather friends had all avoided him, and the beautiful women who often appeared around him had all disappeared. Everyone was afraid to avoid him. When did Jiang Chenghua fall into such a situation? Things happened too fast, and the opponent's means of stirring up public opinion was simply vicious. They took advantage of the negligence of his people and directly nailed Honghua Company to the pillar of shame and became the target of tens of thousands of people's curses. Now, the fire had spread to the Jiang family. After all, his surname was Jiang. The more Jiang Chenghua thought about it, the angrier he felt. He couldn't help but pull the tie around his neck. "Young master's son, you're here?" The white-haired butler was waiting in the hall. He looked at Jiang Chenghua with a slightly reproachful gaze and said softly, "Young master is waiting for you in the study. He hasn't eaten today, so don't make him angry again." Jiang Chenghua had always been arrogant and unyielding, But in front of this senior statesman who had served the Jiang family for 50 years and had served forefather Jiang, Jiang Qinghua's grandfather, and was now serving Jiang Qinghua's father, Jiang Tai, Jiang Qinghua did not dare to be rude. "Ninth uncle, I know I was wrong." The old housekeeper smiled and said, "It's good that you know you were wrong. Quickly go in." Jiang Qinghua agreed and hurried to the study on the second floor. When he arrived at the study, Jiang Qinghua knocked on the door and entered. He saw his father sitting behind the desk. There were 7 or 8 people sitting on the left and right, including his 2 brothers and several executives of the Jiang group. Everyone's eyes fell on him. Some were sympathetic, some were condemning, some were hating him for failing to meet their expectations, and some were gloating. The ones who were gloating were undoubtedly his 2 brothers, who were outwardly harmonious but inwardly hostile. Seeing such a situation, Jiang Qinghua really wanted to retreat immediately. However, under Jiang Tai's fierce gaze, he had no choice but to bite the bullet and greet him. "Father, are you looking for me?" Jiang Tai snorted and said, "I know it's very difficult for me to invite you, the 3rd young master of the Jiang family. However, our Jiang family has reached a moment of life and death. You are also a member of the Jiang family. You can't just stay out of it, right?" Life and death. Jiang Qinghua was shocked. Was the matter so serious? Although the dog abuse incident by the Honghua employees had put him in a passive position, there was still a way to solve it. Anyway, the people who did it had been detained by the police. They could just directly plead guilty and pay compensation. As for the public opinion, as long as they were sincere in admitting their mistakes and spent more money to clear up the media, the situation would actually pass quickly. It was impossible for everyone to keep staring at this matter. The Little Pet Protection Association was a very big problem. However, the Jiang family could completely contact them through various connections. It was just a little bit of money, and they would naturally be able to pass. No matter what, it was impossible to shake the foundation of the Jiang family. "Father, I'm already thinking of a way to solve this matter. It's nothing more than lowering our heads and admitting our mistakes." Jiang Changhua asked in disbelief, "Do you want the Jiang family to pay with our lives just because you killed a few dogs?" Jiang Tai's face was as still as water. He did not speak. A middle-aged man sitting on his left coughed and said, "Third young master, the 2 factories we invested in on the mainland were raided by the tax bureau yesterday. The financial accounts have been seized. We may face a heavy fine. In addition, the Environmental Protection Bureau also came today to conduct a major environmental inspection." This time, Jiang Qinghua was really confused. Since the reform and opening up, the economic development level of the mainland had been growing rapidly. The huge market, rich products, and human resources had made the mainland the first choice for Xiangjiang entrepreneurs to invest. The top 10 richest people in Xiangjiang all had a lot of investments in the mainland. They relied on the mainland to earn astronomical wealth. Of course, the Jiang family would not miss the opportunity to make a fortune. As early as 20 years ago, they began to follow the trend. A few years ago, the Jiang's group, which had tasted the sweetness of the new wave of economic growth in the mainland, had invested in the construction of 2 new large-scale factories in the mainland. They had only recently put into production and sales. The 2 projects had hooked up most of the Jiang family's funds, including a bank loan of hundreds of millions. Seeing that they had begun to make profits, they had unexpectedly been raided by the tax bureau. Jiang Qinghua was very clear that the 2 large factories of his family in the mainland, whether it was tax or environmental protection, were 100% fishy. Once they were checked, they would definitely be found out. This was actually a common problem of many Xiangjiang enterprises investing in the mainland. However, the local government often turned a blind eye to the economic development. As long as it was not too excessive, they could get by. Moreover, the Jiang's group also paid great attention to the communication with the local government agencies. But now something had happened. Jiang Qinghua's intuition told him that the Jiang's group's investment projects being checked in the mainland could not be separated from the matter of him dealing with the small film crew. Although this association was very absurd and unbelievable, Jiang Changhua did not think of other possibilities. Chapter 498. It's all your fault. Jiang Tai's thunderous roar made Jiang Chenghua's premonition come true. It really did have something to do with Lu Chen. But he couldn't understand and couldn't help saying, "How is that possible? I've had people investigate him. He's just a small-time artist from the mainland. He just debuted, and he's already hooked up with a female star. Where did he get so much power? Someone who could make the Tax Bureau and the Environmental Protection Bureau move out one after another to find trouble with a Hong Kong company with a huge investment was definitely not something an ordinary person in power could do. It must have been incited by the higher-ups of the mainland." Jiang Chenghua wasn't a fool. Before he dealt with the crew of a Chinese ghost story, he had learned about Lu Chen's situation. Now it seemed that he had most likely been deceived, or that the other party's background was too deep. At this moment, Jiang Chenghua felt really helpless. Jiang Tai sneered. "Investigated? You believe whatever people say. You don't even know that you've been played." Jiang Chenghua's heart jumped. His father was clearly implying something. He didn't deal with Lu Chen on his own. He had been incited and promised benefits. Jiang Tai obviously already knew the truth. And Jiang Tai's sarcasm and rebuke aroused Jiang Chenghua's rebellious mentality. "Not necessarily. Then Brother Dong. Brother my ass." Jiang Tai was furious. He grabbed the ashtray on the desk and smashed it at Jiang Chenghua. Bang! Accompanied by a muffled sound, Jiang Chenghua's forehead was smashed by the crystal ashtray, and dark red blood immediately flowed down. His body swayed, but he actually endured it without making a sound. The rest of the people present were all startled. Even a vicious tiger would not eat its cubs. Seeing his son's miserable condition, Jiang Tai, who had impulsively attacked, more or less regretted it. He sat down dejectedly and said, "Wipe your own sh*t. I'll deal with the mainland. The other party has already sent word through a middleman." Jiang Chenghua didn't even wipe the blood on his face. He asked, "What do they say?" Jiang Tai said lightly, "This is just a warning. If something like this happens again, the Jiang family should never come to the mainland again." Jiang Chenghua nodded silently. The blood flowed to his lips. It was salty and exceptionally bitter. He opened his mouth with difficulty and said, "I know what to do." Nowadays, Shangjiang was already inseparable from the mainland. If the families in Shangjiang only did business in Hong Kong, then they would never be able to become big. The Zhang's group had placed a heavy bet on the mainland. Once they were obstructed by the higher-ups, then the loss would be immeasurable. Once the news of the two factories being investigated got out, the stock price of the Zhang's group would definitely plummet. It's never too late to mend the pen after the sheep are lost. Jiang Tai waved his hand, indicating that he could leave. With heavy footsteps, Jiang Chenghua left the Jiang family mansion. At this moment, he hated the fellow who had instigated him to the bone. Of course, the most important thing for him right now was to calm down this storm and obtain forgiveness from Lu Chen's side. As for how to do it, Jiang Chenghua thought about it. Killing someone was just a matter of nodding his head. At most, he would just kneel down. While Jiang Chenghua was struggling to think of a solution, as the other party to the incident, Lu Chen was dealing with the backlog of documents in the office of his own studio. Because the dog abuse incident was too big, coupled with the previous incident, the morale of the crew had collapsed and many people had left, so Lu Chen simply stopped filming and let Shan Wenxiang and Wan Xiaoquan be responsible for reorganizing and recruiting new staff. He himself returned to the studio, ready to restart filming in a few days when the situation was clear. In addition, Lu Chen was also waiting for the reaction of Hong Hua, or the Jiang family. In this invisible war, he now had the upper hand, so naturally, there was no need to be anxious. The anxious ones should be Jiang Chenghua and his father. Ring, ring, ring. As soon as Lu Chen finished signing a document, the mobile phone beside the computer rang. After he came to Shangjiang, he bought a new mobile phone and number locally for daily use. Usually, when Chen Wenxiang, Wan Xiaoquan, or Li Zhen wanted to find him, they would call this work phone. In recent days, This work phone had been ringing nonstop, most of which were media interviews. Lu Chun simply left it to his assistant. Out of sight, out of mind, so as not to disturb his work. But now it was his private phone that was ringing, and it was either a family member or a friend. The name displayed on the phone made Lu Chun laugh. He immediately picked it up and asked with a smile, "Child Bai, why do you call me?" The Child Bai in Lu Chun's mouth referred to Li Mu Bai, which was a teasing nickname for friends, different from that of others. Since coming to Xiangjiang, Lu Chun and Li Mu Bai had basically not contacted each other. When he returned to the capital, he heard from Pastor Li that this guy had taken his girlfriend to Hawaii to play and would not come back until he was tanned. "Brother Chun," Li Mu Bai's familiar voice came from the phone, but the content was very scary. "I'm downstairs in your studio." Lu Chun was suddenly stunned. "I'm in Xiangjiang, not in the capital." "Aren't you in Hawaii?" "I just came back the day before yesterday," Li Mu Bai said with a smile. "I know you're in Xiangjiang." "I am in Xiangjiang now, in the Rongjin building. The guards here don't let me in without an appointment. Otherwise, I will come directly to your studio." Li Mu Bai actually came here. Lu Chun was a little dizzy and said quickly, "Okay, wait a minute. I'll come down right away." If it were other uninvited guests, he would let Li Jun receive them, but Li Mu Bai was different. The two were real friends. Li Mu Bai came back from Hawaii and came to Xiangjiang to find him. How could he sit still in the office? He must go down and meet him in person. After ending the call, Lu Chun immediately left the studio and took the elevator down to the hall on the first floor of the building. The management of the Rongjin building was very strict. Visitors without an appointment must contact the tenants at the entrance of the hall and get permission to go up. This put an end to the disturbance of idle people. When the elevator door opened, Lu Chun saw Li Mu Bai standing at the entrance. This guy with a coquettish temperament was like a firefly in the dark. It was easy to distinguish him in the crowd. However, Lu Chun's attention did not stay on Li Mu Bai for a long time. He was soon attracted by the woman wearing sunglasses and a long skirt standing next to Li Mu Bai. The other party was so familiar. Even if the huge sunglasses covered her real face, Lu Chun could still recognize her identity in an instant. The huge and unexpected surprise made him feel like he was about to fly. Chapter 499. Seeing Lu Chun, the woman in the long dress reached out and took off her sunglasses, showing a sweet smile. Her smile was nothing more than this. There was no one else in Lu Chun's eyes. He couldn't help but speed up to her. He resisted the urge to hold her in his arms, held her hand and said, "Why are you here?" The beautiful woman in the white dress was Chun Fei-er, filming on the Mongolian prairie. Her skin was a little tanned, but this did not damage her charm at all. Instead, it showed her healthy beauty and vitality. Every frown and every smile was still so moving. Lu Chun didn't expect that Chun Fei-er would come to Hong Kong with Li Mu Bai. Chun Fei-er let Lu Chun hold her hands, stared at him affectionately, and said with a chuckle, "I finished my scenes on the prairie, and the director gave me half a month's vacation, so I came here. You didn't tell me about such a big thing." It was Sister Mushy who told me. When she said the last sentence, she rolled her eyes at Lu Chun angrily. Lu Chun smiled bitterly and said nothing. He didn't tell Chun Fei-er, of course, because he was afraid that she would worry and affect the shooting of the TV series. He just didn't expect that it was Li Mushy who told her. Hey. Li Mu Bai, who was ignored, was dissatisfied. "Please don't show off your love here." Lu Chun laughed, turned around and gave him a big hug. "Welcome to Hong Kong." Li Mu Bai also rolled his eyes. "I'm more familiar with Hong Kong than you are, okay? I have a lot of friends here." Lu Chun admitted defeat. "Let's go up and talk." Of course, Li Mu Bai and Chun Fei-er were not alone. They each brought their assistants. Chun Fei-er was accompanied by 2 female bodyguards. There were 6 or 7 people in total. In the elevator, Lu Chun asked Li Mu Bai, "I heard from your sister that you went to Hawaii for your honeymoon." "What honeymoon?" "Nonsense." Li Mu Bai grinned. "I'm just accompanying my friend to have some fun and relax." Although he said they were friends, He couldn't hide the proud expression on his face. It was probably because he was in love. Lu Chen asked, "Why don't you bring her to Xiangjiang?" Li Mubai said helplessly, "She has something to do at home. Chen Qian wants to come, but she knows that your girlfriend." Ahem. He coughed twice and secretly glanced at Chen Fei next to him. Lu Chen didn't know whether to laugh or cry. It made it seem as if he and Chen Qian had an unusual relationship. She was afraid of Chen Fei, his real girlfriend, so she didn't dare to follow him. It was simply a deliberate attempt to defame him. To be honest, his impression of that rebellious girl was a little blurry. Chen Fei's eyes twinkled, and there was a faint smile on his face. Fortunately, they arrived at the floor where the studio was located. The elevator door opened, and everyone filed out. "You've done a good job here." Under the guidance of Lu Chen, the group of people first visited Lu Chen's studio. When the employees knew that Lu Chen's girlfriend, the future proprietress, had come in person, they all greeted her respectfully and warmly. Chen Fei responded gracefully, which made the atmosphere in the studio particularly harmonious. After the visit, the three of them sat down in Lu Chen's office. Li Mubai unceremoniously occupied Lu Chen's seat and drove him and Chen Fei to the sofa. Then he patted the table and said, "I'm going to open an office in Xiangjiang, hire 17 or 18 employees, and let them call me boss every day." Lu Chen was speechless. Have you been too free recently? If possible, he wanted to drive this extra-large third wheel out now, so as not to affect the joy and sweetness of his reunion with Chen Fei after a long time. Li Mubai said with a smile, "Do you think I'm joking? I'm serious. I'm not here for fun this time. First of all, I'm going to set up Mukin Crowdfunding's Xiangjiang branch, and then operate Mukin Crowdfunding to be listed on the Hong Kong stock market." Listed on the Hong Kong stock market? Lu Chen was really surprised. It should be known that Mukin Crowdfunding has only been established for more than a year. Li Mushi actually started to operate the Hong Kong stock market. Xiangjiang stock market has a long history and strong international connection. Compared with the domestic stock market, it is more mature and rational. Therefore, many domestic powerful enterprises have been listed on the Hong Kong stock market. Originally, Li Mushi told Lu Chen that she intended to be listed on the domestic growth enterprise market. As a result, she suddenly jumped to Xiangjiang. The starting point was undoubtedly higher. Once the listing was successful, then Mukin Crowdfunding, which had obtained a lot of funds, would surely soar. This matter is very complicated. We'll talk about it later. Li Mubai waved his hand and said to Lu Chen in a very dissatisfied tone, "You're shooting a movie in Xiangjiang, and someone is looking for trouble. I can understand why you didn't tell Sister Fei, but why didn't you call your brother?" In the end, he was filled with righteous indignation. He almost pointed at Lu Chen's nose and said that he had no brothers in his eyes. "Not loyal," Lu Chen said with a wry smile. "In fact, it's not a big deal. I want to solve it by myself first. If it doesn't work, I will definitely ask you for help." When he was maliciously provoked by Honghua, Lu Chen also had the idea of asking the Li family for help. But as the saying goes, it's better to ask for help than to ask for help. He couldn't ask for help from others when he encountered a little difficulty, so this idea only flashed in his mind for a moment. In the end, he relied on his own strength to complete a beautiful counterattack against Honghua. Now Honghua was like a drowning dog. He had become the target of everyone in Xiangjiang. Even Zhou Yi admired his means, which proved that as long as the method was used correctly, any problem was not difficult to solve. The Jiang family still has some power in Xiangjiang. Li Mubai obviously already knew the background of Honghua. He said seriously, which was rare for him, "But you don't have to worry. They should take the initiative to come to apologize to you soon." Lu Chen's heart skipped a beat. He asked, "What did you do?" If Li Mubai said so, it must have nothing to do with the matter of him using the little pet to deal with Honghua. Li Mubai said with a smile, "Nothing much. I just asked someone to help me check the 2 big factories that the Zhang's group invested in the mainland." Lu Chen was really shocked. Isn't this too much? It was originally a small matter of collecting protection fees, but now it turned into the Li family dealing with the Jiang family. The matter was completely out of Lu Chen's control. Li Mubai said proudly, "Bullying you is bullying me. Bullying me is bullying our Li family. I can't say that I can deal with the Jiang family in Shanjiang, but in the mainland, Lu Chen was speechless, but he was grateful. At this time, the phone on the desk rang, and the indicator light showed that it was from the internal line. Lu Chen motioned to Li Mubai to help connect it. The phone was from the receptionist. "Young Master Lu, a Mr. Jiang of the Jiang family wants to see you." Before Lu Chen could answer, Li Mubai said first, "Tell him to get out." Chapter 500. Coincidentally, when Lu Chen was talking to Li Mubai about the Zhang's group, the Zhang sent someone to the door. Li Mubai directly made the decision for Lu Chen and asked the other party to leave. The receptionist didn't know Li Mubai's background. She could tell that it wasn't Lu Chen's voice, so she didn't dare to agree. Lu Chen had to say, "Since there's no appointment, ask him to go back first. Just say that I'm not here." This time, the receptionist got the order. Li Mubai said disdainfully, "What kind of person dares to talk to me face to face? Since you want to settle the trouble, then do it according to the rules of the underworld." It was the tone of a gangster boss. Lu Chen asked with a smile, "What kind of gangster rule is that?" "Serve wine and tea as an apology." Li Mubai said matter-of-factly, "At least let the Zhang's family invite a respected senior to come out and talk to us. Otherwise, how can they get through this easily?" Lu Chen admired the gangster style of the third young master of the Li family and gave him a thumbs up. Li Mubai was finally a little embarrassed and said with a smile, "I also heard it from my friends in Shangjiang before. I haven't seen it myself, but can't be wrong. Anyway, the other party must give enough face. Now it depends on whether the other party is sincere or not." Chun Fei asked curiously, "Do you have a lot of friends in the underworld in Shangjiang?" Li Mubai scratched his head and said, "Not many, just some fair-weather friends." He jumped up from Lu Chen's seat and said, "Brother Chun, Sister Fair, I won't disturb you too lovey-dovey. I'm going to play with my friends." Lu Chen was surprised. "Don't be in such a hurry. Let's have dinner together. By the way, where will you stay tonight?" Although Li Mubai was a bit of an eyesore now, he helped Lu Chen find trouble with the Zhang's family in the mainland, which was undoubtedly a real friendship. How could Lu Chen let him run away like this? That would be too much. Li Mubai smiled and said, "Brother Chun, I'm more familiar with Shangjiang than you are. My brother has a big house here. Let's change the dinner to tomorrow. I've already made an appointment with my friends in Shangjiang before I came. They've prepared a lot of programs." He glanced at Chun Fei maliciously and said, "If Sister Fei didn't come, I would definitely take you to play with me. So let's save it for today." Lu Chen was really impressed by him. "Well then, you can't stand me up again tomorrow night." Li Mubai made an okay gesture to him and then left the studio with his assistant. The relationship between Lu Chen and Li Mubai didn't need too much courtesy, so Lu Chen walked him to the door and came back. After closing the door, he impatiently pulled Chun Fei into his arms and kissed her on the lips. Chun Fei giggled and catered to him coquettishly and softly, letting Lu Chen have enough of her gentle and sweet taste. It was a pity that this was the office and they couldn't go too far. After a few minutes of tenderness and intimacy, Lu Chen reluctantly let go of the beauty in his arms. If they continued, he really couldn't control himself. "Let's go." He took Chun Fei's hand and said, "Let's go home." Lu Chen asked Li Zhen to settle down Chun Fei's two bodyguards and assistants. He drove back to his home in Repulse Bay with his girlfriend and enjoyed the wonderful time alone as he wished. Absence makes the heart grow fonder. When the two ended their passionate entanglement, it was already dark. On the soft and comfortable big bed, Chun Fei leaned in Lu Chen's arms, naughtily drawing circles on his strong chest with her fingers, while telling Lu Chen about what happened after Lu Chen's visit last time. Filming on location was very hard work. The role that Chun Fei played was very important, and the director's requirements were very high. She gritted her teeth and persevered. Finally, she successfully finished her scenes and got half a month's vacation. The shooting cycle of a big drama, like Golden Long Songs, was calculated in years. There were many characters involved, the plot was complicated, and the details were exquisite. Naturally, the requirements for the actors were very high. So although she suffered a lot, through this sharpening, Chun Feier's acting skills had greatly improved, and she was recognized by the director and her colleagues. She was still very proud of this. After listening to Chun Feier's story, Lu Chun kissed her on the face and said, "It's worth praising. Then I'll take you to a big meal to reward you." Chun Feier coquettishly rolled her eyes at him and said, "Do you think I'm a little girl?" Although she said so, she still got up and dressed happily. She dressed up again and went out with Lu Chun. Both of them were well-known stars in the mainland. In Xiangjiang, they were not as famous as the big stars in Hong Kong, so they didn't have to worry about running into crazy fans on the road. In addition, it was night, so they didn't wear sunglasses and masks. In fact, Chun Feier came to Xiangjiang far more often than Lu Chun, and she also bought a house in Xiangjiang, so she was more familiar with Xiangjiang than Lu Chun. As a result, she even found a place to eat. The two had a warm and sweet seafood dinner together, and then walked around Central while holding hands. In the luxury store at the Landmark Square, Lu Chun also bought her the latest bag. It was already late at night when they returned home. After washing up, they went to bed. When he woke up the next morning, Lu Chun reached out and touched his girlfriend who was sleeping beside him. He felt like he was dreaming. As he touched the fire and woke Chun Feier up. Then, in her coquettish voice, the passionate scene played again. The two were like all young couples in love, never tired of loving each other. It was not until 9 o'clock in the morning that Lu Chun turned on his two mobile phones. As a result, his work mobile phone had just been turned on, and only a few seconds later, a call came in. The call was from Chun Wenxiang, who called Lu Chun. The director of the studio couldn't contain his excitement and said, "Young Master Lu, Honghua has admitted defeat. Jiang Qinghua sent a message through a middleman. They are willing to hold a feast to apologize to you." Chun Wenxiang had been under a lot of pressure some time ago. He was the last person he wanted to see Lu Chun's movie go wrong, because it was not only related to his job, but also affected his beloved daughter's future in the film and television industry. Although Lu Chun had completed a beautiful counterattack, Chun Wenxiang was secretly worried that it would completely anger the Jiang family and bring more trouble to the crew. So when he received the news this morning, he couldn't believe his ears. Jiang Qinghua admitted defeat just like that. Chun Wenxiang, who didn't know the deeper inside story, was extremely happy. He called Lu Chun again and again to tell him the good news. Until now, the call went through. Li Mubai was right. Lu Chun wasn't surprised. He gave Chun Wenxiang a few instructions and hung up. However, just as he put down his mobile phone, it rang again. This time it was Zhou. Chapter 501. Zhou Yi told Lu Chun over the phone that Jiang Qinghua from Honghua had invited an old senior to apologize to Lu Chun through him and arrange a banquet at the Hentang Hotel tomorrow night to apologize to Lu Chun in person. This senior was highly respected in the circle and was very famous. Zhou Yi could be considered as his junior. Jiang Qinghua had probably paid a very high price to bring out this god, and it also proved his sincerity. Lu Chun thought for a while and said, "All right then, I'll also give face to the senior and come on time tomorrow night." "That's really great," Zhou Yi said with a smile. Jiang Qinghua almost kowtowed to the ground. "It's not good for us to be ruthless. Harmony breeds wealth. By the way, when will we start filming again?" Zhou Yi was actually a proud person, but his pride had always been hidden in his bones, and he would not easily show it. There were really not many people in the Xiangjiang industry who could catch his eye. But for Lu Chun, a young man who was more than 10 years younger than him, he was now really convinced. His original thoughts had long disappeared, and he sincerely wanted to continue this cooperation. Lu Chun replied, "We'll resume filming today." Time was precious and could not afford to waste any time. Being delayed by Honghua for a week, the loss of money was secondary. The key was that the filming plan was disrupted, which made Lu Chen quite angry. Now that Jiang Changhua had admitted defeat, it was reasonable for the crew to resume filming today. Zhou Yi asked with concern, "Have you found the actress who will play the role of Grandma Tree Fairy?" Lu Chen could not help but feel a little strange. Although Zhou Yi had acquired Jiang Pictures and became the boss of this old film company, he actually did not know much about movies. The specific matters were naturally done by his subordinates, and he never asked about the details. Lu Chen had dealt with him a few times and had a certain understanding of him, so he was very puzzled. "Not yet, but it won't affect the resumption of filming today. Is there a problem?" Zhou Yi said a little helplessly. "It's nothing much. Lu Jiahui looked for me and said that he wanted to return to the crew. He even said that he wanted to serve tea to you as an apology. He's an old friend of mine and begged me with tears and snot." Lu Jiahui was the actor recommended by Jiang Pictures to play the role of Granny Trant. Like Ma Rongjin, he was an experienced actor. However, an experienced actor might not have the strength of character. Under the threat of Hong Hua and the Jiang family, he was the first to retreat. Now that he had changed his mind and wanted to return to the cast, he must have heard the news. Lu Chen replied without hesitation, "I can't afford to invite this person. You can reply for me." What kind of joke was this? If such a person was allowed to return, what would the people in the crew think? Lu Chen was not a good guy without principles. Zhou Yi was not surprised by Lu Chen's rejection. He smiled and said, "All right, I'll reject him. Actually, it's not like he has to come back. He's just a little scared." Lu Chen thought for a while and immediately understood what Zhou Yi meant. Lu Jiahui had taken the initiative to withdraw from the cast because he was afraid of Hong Hua and the Jiang family. Now that Lu Chen's side had obviously won, he was afraid that Lu Chen would settle the score after the fall. So he put down his pride and begged Zhou Yi. Returning to the cast was not his goal. His real goal was to beg for mercy. Understanding the key point, Lu Chen was really disgusted with Lu Jiahui. "Let's not talk about this person anymore. It's boring." Zhou Yi understood. "All right, let's meet at the Hentang Hotel tomorrow night." After hanging up, Lu Chen said to Chun Fei, who had finished dressing up, "Let's go." Chun Fei was sitting in front of the dressing table. She tilted her head and was putting on the last earring. She asked curiously, "Your crew is still short of actors?" Lu Chen nodded and said, "Someone was originally chosen for Granny Trant, but they withdrew later." Lu Chen did not say much about the specifics. Anyway, Lu Jiahui had already been included in his list of people he would never work with. Granny Trant, Chun Fei, had read the script of a Chinese ghost story, so she quickly remembered. The villain boss. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Yes, there are more scenes, so we have to choose a more reliable one." He had already asked Chun Wenxiang to handle the matter of the new casting. He believed that there would be some progress soon. Chun Fei blinked and suddenly said, "I'll play Granny Trant. What do you think?" Lu Chen was caught off guard by her sudden idea. "What did you say?" Chun Fei smiled and said, "I said I'll play Granny Trant. I have half a month's vacation. If I hurry up, it shouldn't be a problem to finish my scenes during this period, right?" Of course, time was not a problem. The story of a Chinese ghost story was very strong, but the background of the story was fictitious. There were very few scenes involved, so it was not complicated to shoot. Everything could be settled in Lion Rock film and television. It was just that the post-production special effects would be a little troublesome. Half a month's time would be enough if it was all used on Chun Fei. However, Lu Chen did not even think about it. "How can that do? Isn't that making you destroy your own image?" No. It should be known that he originally thought of letting Chun Fei play the role of Nie Xiaoqian. But due to the scheduling inconsistency and the audience's aesthetic fatigue, Chun Fei did not follow him to Hong Kong. Now that he had asked her to play Granny Trant, the change in style was too drastic. Lu Chen was worried that it would have a negative impact on Chun Fei's image. However, Chun Fei was very serious. "I think there's no problem. A real actor can't be fixed in the same role forever. You can play the positive character, but you can also play the negative character vividly. I'm very willing to accept such a challenge. As she said that, she got up and leaned into Lu Chen's arms. She said softly, "You've done so much for this movie. I hope I can help you." In order to shoot this a Chinese ghost story, Lu Chen had started to lose weight more than a month ago. He had lost more than 10 pounds by now. He was not that kind of strong body, so now he looked a little more gentle and weak, which was in line with the needs of the characters in the movie. He came to Hong Kong alone to work hard and try to integrate into the circle of Hong Kong. He established Lu Chen Film Studio from scratch and looked for people to cooperate with to film a movie. He also encountered the provocation of gangs and clubs. This road was not smooth. As a friend of Lu Chen, Li Mubai had made a big move to deal with the Jiang family in the mainland and helped Lu Chen deal with his opponents. As Lu Chen's closest lover, how could she stand by and watch? Destroy his own image? That was not necessarily the case. If the villain was played well, it could also improve his image. Needless to say, Lu Chen understood Chen Fei-er's intentions. He hugged the beautiful woman in his arms and felt happy in his heart. He hoped that time would stop at this moment forever. Chapter 502. Lion Rock Film and Television Base, the former site of famed temple. The set, which had been quiet for a few days, became lively again. The tarpaulin covering the props was pulled away, and expensive high-definition digital cameras were set up again. Sound recording, lighting, art, makeup, the crew members all seemed to have been injected with chicken blood, and they were all busy in high spirits. A Chinese ghost story was being res-hot. Ever since the opening ceremony of this movie, the mood of the crew members had been on a roller coaster. At one time, everyone was in a panic and thought that they were going to be dismissed. Now that the clouds had cleared, everyone was naturally happy. Nowadays, the competition in Xinjiang's film and television industry was extremely fierce, but the market share did not increase. Many people in the industry could not find suitable jobs, so they had no choice but to change careers or go to the mainland, Taiwan, Japan, and Korea to find opportunities. It was undoubtedly very difficult to change careers after being used to a familiar job, and the road outside was even more difficult when people were away from home. Therefore, everyone cherished their current job opportunities. Most importantly, as the main investor of the film, Lu Chen was kind and generous, so they would not suffer losses working with him. Therefore, when faced with the pressure from Honghua, they all persisted and did not choose to quit. Their choice was undoubtedly correct. When they received the notice of the reshoot in the morning, everyone rushed to the set as soon as possible. Without Chen Wenxiang's command, they took the initiative to complete the work before the reshoot. When Lu Chen arrived at the famed temple set with Chen Fei-er, it was already a boiling cauldron of voices. The atmosphere was excellent. "This is my girlfriend." Lu Chen first introduced Chen Fei-er to Chen Wenxiang. "This is Mr. Chen Wenxiang, the director of the studio." "Hello, Uncle Chong." Chen Fei-er generously extended her hand to Chen Wenxiang. "Lu Chen told me about you several times. Thanks to your help, he can stand firm in Xinjiang." Chen Wenxiang was flattered. He quickly shook hands with Chen Fei-er and said, "You flatter me." "Hello, Miss Chen Fei-er. I've heard a lot about you. Young Master Lu is really lucky." Of course, he knew that Lu Chen's girlfriend was the famous heavenly queen, Chen Fei-er. As one of the few mainland stars who were popular in Xinjiang, Chen Fei-er's news could occasionally be seen in Xinjiang's newspapers and magazines. However, the photos in the newspapers and magazines didn't capture Chen Fei-er's true charm at all. She didn't wear any makeup, and her beauty was natural. Every frown and smile of hers had a peerless beauty that could topple cities. She was truly dazzling. Xinjiang was a place that produced beauties. Every year, there would be many outstanding beauties in the Miss Hong Kong and Miss Asia selection. However, Chen Wenxiang felt that those Hong Kong sisters and Asian sisters that he had seen before were lacking in something compared to Chen Fei-er. Wan Shaoquan and Chen Fei-er knew each other, so they exchanged pleasantries when they met. Wan Shaoquan said jokingly, "Since you're already here, why don't you make a cameo in the movie?" Chen Fei-er And Lu Chun looked at each other. The latter smiled and said, "Director Wan, I'm going to let Fair play the role of Granny Dryad." "What?" Wan Xiaoquan and Chun Wenxiang asked in unison. "Play the role of Granny Dryad?" The role of Granny Dryad in a Chinese ghost story was a big villain. Her image was set to be cruel and vicious, and she was full of demonic aura. That was why Lu Jiaowei had been asked to disguise himself as a woman to play this role. Lu Jiaowei had quit the cast, and Chen Wenxiang was still having a headache over the replacement. This was because this role had very high requirements for the actor's temperament and acting skills. Otherwise, it would be easy for the actor to act out of place. Now that Chen Feier was actually going to play the role of Granny Dryad, how could the two of them not be surprised? Chen Feier pursed her lips and smiled. "I want to challenge myself." This was undoubtedly a very strong reason. Lu Chen had seriously thought about it on the way here. "This is what Feier requested. I think it's fine. The main thing is to modify the settings and put more effort into the special effects makeup. The effect will definitely not be bad." His original setting for Granny Dryad was based on the original version in the dream world. Now, that Chen Feier was going to play the role, he definitely could not follow the original version. He had to make targeted changes. Wan Xiaoquan thought about it and said decisively, "Let's give it a try then." He had thought it through very clearly. First of all, Lu Chen's request could not be rejected. Secondly, Chen Feier joining a Chinese ghost story to play the villain, the big boss. That was undoubtedly an excellent publicity stunt and would be very helpful in increasing the domestic box office. Finally, Chen Feier playing the role of Granny Dryad could make the style of the movie more diverse. Since Lu Chun and Wan Xiaoquan had no objections, Chen Wenxiang naturally did not have any objections. As they were talking, another group of people entered the set. The person walking at the front was Nie Mingzhu. When she saw Chen Feier standing beside Lu Chun, a look of surprise flashed in her eyes. Then, she quickly walked over. "Young Master Lu, Director Wan, Uncle Chong." Yeah, and Mingzhu greeted Lu Chun and the others one by one. Finally, her gaze landed on Chen Feier. "This must be Sister Chen Feier, right?" Lu Chun quickly introduced, "This is Miss Nie Mingzhu. She will play Nie Xiaoqian." Chen Feier suddenly understood. She smiled and extended her hand to her. "Miss Nie, nice to meet you." "It's my honor," Nie Mingzhu said with a smile. "You can just call me Mingzhu. I'm a fan of yours. I asked a friend in the mainland to buy 10 sets of your Woman Flower album for my collection. These songs are really nice." Her cheerful appearance was completely devoid of her usual cold and reserved demeanor. She was no different from an ordinary female fan who had met her idol. Her joy came from the bottom of her heart. To be honest, it was impossible for Chen Feier not to feel the slightest bit jealous when she saw that Lu Chun had found such a beautiful female lead. However, when she saw that the other party was not shrewd at all, she felt relieved. "Thank you, Sister Mingzhu." As soon as they met, the two of them became familiar with each other and talked intimately. Their topic quickly changed from the role of the actors and the crew to the maintenance of makeup, bags, and other aspects. There was really a lot to talk about. Lu Chun was happy with this. He asked Chen Wenxiang to gather all the staff members of the crew together. After everyone was present, Lu Chun announced 3 things. First of all, the official filming of a Chinese ghost story had been resumed. All the problems that had occurred before had been resolved. Second, the mainland's heavenly queen, Miss Chen Feier, had joined the cast to play the role of Granny Tree Spirit. Finally, after a Chinese ghost story was released, Lu Chun's studio would take out 10% of the box office profits as a bonus and reward it to all the members of the crew according to their contribution. When Lu Chun announced something, the crew members responded with warm applause and cheers. In the end, the applause and cheers almost blew the roof off. With such an atmosphere and momentum, if they still could not film a Chinese ghost story well, it would really be a sin. Chapter 503. Chen Feier joining a Chinese ghost story was undoubtedly good news for the crew. By now, even the handymen and logistics workers in the crew knew the background of Lu Chun, the film's investor and male lead. They also knew how popular he was in the mainland. For a movie, the popularity of the lead was undoubtedly a guarantee of the box office. Take Hong Kong's movies, for example. Liu Gangsheng had made several bad movies, but these bad movies still sold well because fans were willing to support them. Now that another heavenly queen-level female star has joined the cast, the local box office of Hong Kong is unpredictable, but it is estimated that the big market in the mainland will not be bad. It should be known that Lu Chun and Chen Fei are the famous golden couple partner in the mainland entertainment industry. For these crew members, being able to participate in the production of a popular movie, regardless of the specific remuneration, the qualifications alone were very precious, and their voices in the circle would be much louder. What's more, Lu Chun had generously taken out 10% of the box office profits as a bonus. The morale of the crew instantly reached the maximum. A new shooting plan was quickly brought out. The stylists and makeup artists of Jiang Pictures worked overnight to redesign the image of Grandma Tree and create it perfectly on Chen Fei. The new boss combined Chen Fei's own characteristics. She was beautiful and enchanting with a hint of ruthlessness. Her heavy gold makeup and gorgeous clothes formed a sharp contrast with Nie Xiaoqian, who was as pure as water in a white dress. In Lu Chen's opinion, Chen Fei's role as Grandma Tree was undoubtedly more attractive than the classic character in the original version in his memory, whether it was in terms of image or temperament. It could be said that it was full of highlights. Chen Fei also felt good. After finishing the makeup, he specially asked his assistant to take a photo of himself and asked the crew's art designers to slightly retouch it before posting it on his blog. The content of the blog post was very simple. What do you think of my character in a Chinese ghost story? This informal makeup photo appeared on Chen Fei's blog and immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. Some were surprised, screaming, complaining, asking. The number of clicks and comments flooded the page. What am I doing? A Chinese ghost story? Isn't it the movie I shot in Xiangjiang this morning? Fei, I'm going to be a guest star too? This is too demonic. I can't believe this is my Fei. This can't be the female lead, right? I've read strange stories from a Chinese studio, and Nie Xiaoqian wouldn't look like this. It's time to guess the riddle. May I know who Fei is playing? Someone guessed correctly. Could it be the antagonist tree demon? No way. Chen Fei posted a photo of himself without giving any explanation. He left the fans with countless puzzles. Actually, this was a very clever marketing method. It deliberately left everyone in suspense and let the fans discuss it. Invisibly, it would promote the movie A Chinese Ghost Story. Of course, only a big shot like her, who had tens of millions of fans on her blog, could play this game well. Otherwise, if she was not popular and only had zombie fans, the number of comments would be very few. She would only be asking to be humiliated. As Chen Fei's vacation time was limited, in the following days, the entire crew would film around her and finish all the scenes involving her first. At this time, it showed the maturity and strength of the Xiangjiang film industry. Probably in order to make up for their previous mistakes, Jiang Pictures had sent all their elites over, increasing the number of people in the crew to more than 150. In several important parts, they had also hired professional experts in the industry. They were nervous but orderly, busy but not chaotic. With the cooperation of Chen Wenxiang and the director of Jiang Pictures, the entire crew was like a tightly wound machine, working against time. During the most prosperous period of the Xiangjiang film industry, many film companies shot low-budget movies. They could produce a new film in a few weeks. Although there were many shoddy productions, the efficiency was undoubtedly very high. Although the current Xiangjiang movies were already declining, this kind of efficiency had been continued. Except for a few directors who were very individualistic, most of the Xiangjiang directors were experts in making movies with high efficiency. The characteristics of the directors affected the crew, and even the professionals in the Xiangjiang industry were used to working overtime. Everyone worked together to make up for the lost time. Lu Chen was also very busy. Not only did he have to work on the crew, but he also had a lot of things to do outside the crew. For example, attending Jiang Chenghua's apology banquet. The third young master of the Jiang family and the boss of Honghua held a banquet at the famous Hentang Hotel in Shanjiang. He invited Lu Zhenghao, a senior in the circle, to act as a mediator and Zhou Yi as a witness. It could be said that he had given enough face. According to the words of the circle, Jiang Changhua almost kowtowed to the ground. Therefore, Lu Chun must attend in person. Otherwise, it would mean that he would fight to the death with the other party, which was more ruthless than slapping his face. Of course, he would not attend the banquet alone. Li Mubai, his assistant Zhang Xiaofeng, and Wan Yong would go with him. The four of them were neither too many nor too few. If there were too few, they would appear weak. If there were too many, they would appear to lack confidence. Although the apology banquet was not a Hongmen banquet, there were also many rules. As for Chun Fer, she was not suitable to attend such a banquet, so Lu Chun did not bring her. The Hentang Hotel was located in the prime area of the Mid-Mountain area, adjacent to the Central Business District. This five-star hotel built in the 1990s used to be one of the tallest buildings in Shanjiang. The investor invited a famous German designer to design it. Now, it was not inferior to the surrounding high-rise buildings. When the car arrived at the hotel, Lu Chun got out of the car and entered the lobby. He saw Zhou Yi waiting in the lobby. He was very surprised. "Boss Zhou, why are you here?" Zhou Yi said seriously, "I'm waiting for you. We're together. Of course, we have to go up together." Lu Chun was speechless. "Boss Zhou, you're making me so embarrassed." He knew that this was Zhou Yi's determination to stand with him. Lu Chun really admired this Xiangjiang businessman. He could take it easy and let it go. In the face of benefits, he did not care about his face. He was really smooth and slick. No wonder he could build such a big family business from scratch. "Zhou," he said with a smile, "actually, I've just arrived, and I'm not familiar with Jiang Chenghua. It's more appropriate for me to wait for you to come." He keenly noticed Li Mubai standing beside Lu Chun. He asked curiously, "This is?" Lu Chun briefly introduced him. "This is my friend Li Mubai. He just came from the mainland." Zhou Yi's eyes suddenly lit up. He took half a step forward and took the initiative to extend his hand to Li Mubai. "Hello, Mr. Li." Li Mubai smiled faintly and shook hands with him. "Hello, Boss Zhou." A thoughtful look flashed in Zhou Yi's eyes. He immediately recovered his smile. "Then let's go up." They took the elevator and went straight to the floor where the banquet was booked. Chapter 504. Jiang Chenghua stood at the entrance of the banquet hall, waiting for Lu Chun. The banquet hall he booked at the Hentang Hotel was called the Crane Hall. This hall, with an area of more than 100 square meters, was very famous in the circle. The name Crane Hall was taken from the poem "Thousands of years old cranes still have regrets. How can a year of people be heartless?" But later it was homophoned as "Harmony is precious. Harmony is precious." Therefore, the Crane Hall became the place of choice for many high-level people in the circle to negotiate. And the circle here referred to the circle of Jianghu in Hong Kong. Jiang Chenghua was a person of status. Even if he apologized, he would not humbly wait at the entrance of the hotel. But after hearing the news of Lu Chen's arrival, he still sat at the table, which was not sincere. And beside him, there was a white-haired old man with a ruddy face. When Lu Chun and the others came to the door of the Crane Hall under the guidance of the waiter, the two immediately looked at each other. This was the first time Lu Chun saw Jiang Chenghua. Jiang Chenghua looked about 30 years old, with regular facial features and quite manly, but his thick black eyebrows made him look slightly fierce, and his bright eyes left a deep impression. He took the initiative to greet Lu Chun, and with a smile on his face, he stretched out his hand and said, "This must be young Master Lu? I'm Jiang Chenghua. I've heard a lot about young Master Lu. It's my honor to take the time to come." If others didn't know, they would think that Jiang Chenghua was an admirer of Lu Chun. Lu Chun shook hands with him calmly and said, "Mr. Jiang, you're too polite." This was how social occasions were. Even if both sides wanted to pull out a knife to kill each other, they would still be polite on the surface, as if they were very harmonious. If you didn't learn this, you wouldn't be able to survive in this circle. The current Jianghu was not the Jianghu of the past. Jiang Chenghua had a very special feeling. Jiang Chenghua had seen Lu Chen's information, but the photos were completely different from the real person. Lu Chen was young beyond imagination. He was tall and handsome, and had the temperament of a star idol, but his speech and behavior were steady like a veteran. He was neither humble nor arrogant, nor impatient, as if everything was under his control, and his whole body was full of maturity and confidence. Jiang Chenghua had never seen such a young man before. He wondered if he had known Lu Chen long ago, would he have listened to others' instigation to deal with Lu Chen? After all, Jiang Chenghua was not an ordinary person. He quickly came back to his senses. He introduced the white-haired elder to Lu Chen. "This is Lu Zhenghao, my senior." Lu Chen hastily cupped his hands in greeting. Junior Lu Chen greets Fifth Lord. He had heard from Zhou Yi that Fifth Lord Lu was a legendary figure in the circle. He was one of the leaders of the Hong sect and had many disciples. He had a wide network of friends in Hong Kong and had friends from all walks of life. Interestingly, Lu Zhenghao chose to retire before the storm of the Hong Kong government's crackdown on the Triad organization. Coupled with the fact that he had no criminal record, he escaped unscathed. Later, Lu Zhenghao had been living in seclusion in the old house halfway up the mountain. Although he had retired from Jianghu, he still had a very high reputation and prestige in the circle. Even now, his words still carried considerable weight. However, in recent years, Lu Zhenghao was getting old and did not like to be active and meddle in other people's business. Jiang Chenghua must have paid a high price to be able to invite this master. Lu Zhenghao was wearing an ancient silk shirt and black cloth shoes. His hair and beard were all white, and he looked like a sage. He cupped his hands in greeting and said, "Hearing about you is not as good as meeting you in person. Young Master Lu is indeed a talent. You have come to Hong Kong, and you have surpassed all the young people in Hong Kong." Everyone laughed, and the atmosphere was quite harmonious. Lu Chen smiled and said, "Fifth Lord, you flatter me." Lu Zhenghao waved his hand and said, "Let's talk inside." So everyone entered the hall and sat down according to the position of host and guest. Lu Zhenghao naturally sat at the head of the table. After sitting down, Lu Zhenghao curiously looked at Lu Chen's companions and said, "Young Master Lu, these are?" Lu Chen hurriedly introduced, "This is my assistant, Zhang Xiaofang, and this is my assistant, Wan Yong." When Lu Chen introduced Zhang Xiaofang, Lu Zhenghao just nodded his head to show that he knew, but when he introduced Wan Yong, his eyes narrowed and his expression became serious. So this is the Lu family's class leader who is famous in Hong Kong. He is a real man. Previously, when Hong Hua's people surrounded the set, Wan Yong led his people to guard the gate to prevent them from entering. He persisted until Lu Chen returned, and then led his people to kill Hong Hua's henchmen. He single-handedly put down 4 or 5 gangsters, and his performance was even more eye-catching than Lu Chen's. At that time, the scene was captured by the paparazzi on the scene, and the video was quickly posted on the internet. Therefore, inadvertently, the Lu family class became famous, and their identity and origin were revealed by the people in the crew. As the head of the Lu family class, Wan Yong actually had a lot of fans on the internet. His burly and strong body, superb skills, and cold and fierce appearance all became the focus of heated discussion, reminding many people of the Big Circle Gang that once ran amok in Hong Kong. Although the Big Circle Gang was notorious back then, there were a lot of young people in Hong Kong who worshipped and respected them. Therefore, it was not surprising that Lu Zhenghao knew Wan Yong. Wan Yong was not good at socializing, and for Lu Zhenghao's praise, he forced a smile and said, "Thank you." Lu Zhenghao did not care. He had seen similar people before, and knew that the other party just did not like to talk. Jiang Chenghua took another look at Wan Yong. He knew that Wan Yong was a retired soldier, and the whole Lu family class was. If he had known this, he would have been much more cautious, At least he would not have casually let his subordinates do things that he did not pay attention to. But now, he had to hold a feast to apologize, which made him lose face. Lu Chun finally introduced Li Mubai. "This is my good friend Li Mubai." Li Mubai smiled and imitated Lu Chen's manner of cupping one hand and the other before his chest and said, "Hello, both of you." Lu Jinghao was a little unhappy, feeling that this young man was not polite, but Jiang Qinghua's face suddenly changed, looking at the other party with a very complicated expression. Li Mubai, surnamed Li. It was said that the person who caused trouble in the Jiang family's two big factories in the mainland was related to a certain surnamed Li. Even his father could not find out more inside information, only knowing that the other party was a high-level figure in the mainland. Surnamed Li, and also a good friend of Lu Chun, Li Mubai's identity was obvious, and he came to this apology feast with him. Jiang Qinghua felt a dull pain in his testicles. He thought he was smart all his life, but he actually rashly picked a fight without knowing the details of his opponent. This failure was really asking for humiliation, and he had lost all his face. Since he lost, he had to admit it, but Jiang Changhua did not intend to bear it alone. Compared to Lu Chun, he actually hated another person more. Chapter 505. After guessing Li Mubai's origin, Jiang Changhua not only had a headache, but his head hurt even more. He has been wearing a dark gray hat. Even after Lu Qin and others came, he didn't take it off. It's not that Jiang Changhua doesn't understand social etiquette, nor is it that he is arrogant, but the hat covers the bandage wrapped around his head. Jiang Tai's ashtray hit was very heavy. Not only did it break Jiang Qinghua's head, but it also caused a slight fracture of his skull and a concussion. If it weren't for the wine to apologize, he would probably still be in the hospital. Therefore, Jiang Qinghua understood very well how angry his father was at that time. The root cause was probably this mischievous playboy in front of him. After knowing the identity of Li Mubai, Jiang Qinghua's attitude became even more polite and cautious. He swallowed a mouthful of bitterness, stood up, picked up the teapot on the table, and slowly poured a cup of hot tea. Then, this arrogant child of the Jiang family brought the tea to Lu Chun with both hands and said, "Young Master Lu, I have eyes but failed to recognize Mount Tai. I hope young Master Lu can forgive me for my previous offense." This cup of tea was very particular. It represented Jiang Chenghua's most formal attitude of apology, which was equivalent to spreading his face on the ground. It depended on how Lu Chun would respond. If Lu Chun wasn't satisfied and refused this cup of tea, it would be equivalent to stepping on Jiang Chenghua's face, and the two sides would fight to the death. Of course, the premise was that Jiang Qinghua had the strength to fight to the death. Otherwise, he would certainly lose his face and would no longer be able to survive. Lu Chun pondered for a moment. Previously, Jiang Qinghua's Honghua had caused so much trouble for him, and the shooting of the crew had to be interrupted. If he simply forgave the other party, then he would undoubtedly be degrading himself. Li Mubai snorted and tapped his fingers on the table. He said in a strange tone, "Just a cup of tea and it's over? How can there be such a good thing in the world? Next time I go to Fuyuan and Pengfei factory and throw 2 dead dogs. At most, I'll just pour a cup of tea." Jiang Qinghua's heart trembled. He finally confirmed Li Mubai's identity. Fuyuan and Pengfei were 2 large factories that the Jiang Group had invested in and built in the mainland. Currently, they were being investigated by the tax and environmental protection departments, causing Jiang Tai to be badly battered. Jiang Changhua hurriedly smiled apologetically and said, "Li Xiao's words are too serious. I have also prepared a gift as an apology." He winked, and the assistant standing behind him immediately presented a thin envelope to Lu Chun. Jiang Changhua said, "This is just a small apology. Please accept it, young Master Lu." Lu Chun looked at Li Mubai, and the latter nodded slightly. He then opened the envelope on the spot. Inside the envelope was a check from a bank in China for 10 million yuan. In order to fight back against Honghua, Lu Chun had donated 5 million yuan to the Little Pet Foundation. Jiang Chenghua must have known that, so he was now taking out double the amount to apologize, which was very sincere. At this time, Lu Jinghao said, "Young Master Lu, this time was Xiao Zhang's fault, but he was also deceived and encouraged, so let's be harmonious and make money." Lu Chen's eyes flashed. He put the check back into the envelope and gave it to Zhang Xiaofeng to put away. He smiled faintly and said, "Since Fifth Master has said so, I will definitely give him face and let this matter go." With that, he took the teacup from Jiang Chenghua's hand. Lu Chen took the tea from Jiang Chenghua, and the atmosphere in the hall suddenly relaxed. Lu Jinghao, Zhou Yi, and the others all had smiles on their faces. As Lu Jinghao said, being harmonious and making money was the only way to make money. It was not the 70s and 80s anymore, and the old ways of fighting and killing were no longer feasible. Lu Chun sipped the tea in his cup, put down the teacup, and said, but, Jiang Chenghua's face suddenly froze. What he was most worried about was that Lu Chun would be unforgiving and ask for more. Lu Chun continued, "But I'm curious, who on earth is deceiving and encouraging Mr. Jiang?" Lu Chun stared at him with bright eyes. Jiang Chenghua, on the other hand, breathed a big sigh of relief and said with a wry smile, "This matter is also shameful, but since young Master Lu wants to know, I will naturally tell you everything I know." In fact, even if Lu Chun did not ask, he would have taken the initiative to tell him. Jiang Chenghua was born in a rich and powerful family. It could be said that he had been living in luxury since he was a child, and his life had been smooth sailing. Even after he became independent, he had never suffered any losses in the business world. This time, he had suffered a particularly heavy and severe setback. Because of this, he hated the person who encouraged him to deal with Lu Chen the most. This person was not an ordinary person, but Cui Xingxian, the head of Huaguan Pictures. Huaguan Pictures was one of the top 10 film companies in China, and it was a subsidiary of Huaguan Entertainment Group. The current general manager, Cui Xingxian, was in his early 30s, and he was a young man in the mainland film and television circle. The common characteristic of young men was that they were ambitious. Cui Xingxian had always been unwilling to be lonely. This time, the Hong Kong government and the State Administration of Radio, Film and Television issued a new film support policy, and he saw an opportunity. As soon as the news came out in the industry, Huaguan Pictures took the lead in setting up a branch in Hong Kong, and Cui Xingxian was personally in charge of Hong Kong. At present, the new film was already in the process of shooting. Jiang Chenghua said, "I met Cui Xingxian at a cocktail party, and I wanted to cooperate with him. Then he proposed a deal with you, and promised to participate in my film company after it was done. Do you know why he wants to deal with us?" Lu Chen was very puzzled. He knew about Huaguan Pictures, but he didn't know Cui Xingxian at all, and there was no grievance between the two sides. Jiang Chenghua directly sold Cui Xingxian out. "First of all, the film you made is in conflict with theirs. Your film is called The Chinese Ghost Story, and his film is called The Painted Skin." The Painted Skin. Lu Chen suddenly realized that The Painted Skin was also a story in Strange Tales from a Chinese studio. In this way, the two sides had the same theme, and when they applied for the policy support quota in the future, they would inevitably face direct competition. The first batch of new film support policies in Hong Kong only had 20 places, and the competition was very fierce. If the same type of film collided, Huaguan Pictures had every reason to cause trouble for a Chinese ghost story. Lu Chun couldn't help sneering and said, "Huaguan Pictures really thinks highly of me. Whether in terms of strength, scale, or status in the industry, Lu Chen Studio, which had just entered the film industry, was much worse than Huaguan Pictures." Unexpectedly, Cui Xingxian made trouble for them. Lu Chen was really a little speechless. Jiang Chenghua hesitated for a moment and said, "Also, I heard that Cui Xingxian once pursued Chen Fei." Lu Chun was speechless. It turned out that this was Chen Fei's pursuer, and he probably hated him for failing. At this point, the truth was revealed. Chapter 506. Ever since he started dating Chun Fei, Lu Chen had been aware that he would be hated by others. As a popular singer in the domestic pop music industry, Chun Fei, was definitely one of the top people in the circle, whether it was her talent, character, or appearance. Naturally, she had many pursuers, and those who had the confidence and ability to pursue her were definitely not ordinary people. Unlike many people in the circle who treated love as casual as eating and drinking, Chun Fei was very conservative in terms of love. Although there were several rumors, they were all proved to be fake news or deliberately hyped up. Therefore, when her relationship with Lu Chun was made public, it caused a great shock in the circle. Among those who had painstakingly pursued her but failed, there were really too few people who had no grudges or resentment in their hearts. Lu Chun just didn't expect that he would come across a former pursuer of Chun Fei in Hong Kong. Should we teach Cui Xingxian a lesson? When coming out of the Hintang Hotel, Li Mubai was eager to try. Let him know that we are not to be trifled with. Under the leadership of Lu Zhenghao, Jiang Changhua apologized with tea and took out 10 million as compensation. The two sides shook hands, and the storm came to an end. As for the trouble that Hong Hua was currently facing, it had nothing to do with Lu Chun. In general, such an ending was not bad. But the third young master of the Li family was eager to see the world in chaos. How dare he have ideas about Sister Fur? Let's beat him up. Lu Chun couldn't help laughing. Forget it. He already owed the Li family a lot. If he let Li Mubai deal with Cui Xingxian, it would be too immature. Even if it was to fight back against Cui Xingxian, Lu Chun had to rely on his own strength. Li Mubai was dissatisfied. Are we just going to let him go like this? Lu Chun shook his head. No, let's wait and see. If he wanted to fight back, he naturally had to fight back through the movie that was currently being filmed. As long as a Chinese ghost story could win the policy support slot and squeeze out the opponent's painted skin, that would be the biggest victory. This incident also made Lu Chun realize that not only did he have to shoot his own movie well, but he also had to understand his opponent's situation. Lu Chun left the task of gathering information to Chen Wenxiang. He took out the envelope with the $10 million check and handed it to Li Mubai. Li Mubai couldn't help but roll his eyes. What? Lu Chun said, of course it's for you. You contributed the most in this matter. You can't help for nothing, right? Li Mubai gave him the middle finger. Do you think I lack this little money? Lu Chun smiled and said, your sister has already called me. Don't be stubborn. Just take it. There's no need to be polite between us. Li Mubai, who had been exposed, suddenly couldn't hold on anymore. He said with a bitter face, my sister is too stingy. She asked me to come to Hong Kong to open a company and only gave me a few million. It's not even enough to eat with friends. Lu Chun laughed and forced the envelope into his hand. You can spend it first. If it's not enough, you can ask me for more. Li Mubai smiled and put away the envelope with a little embarrassment. The friendship between the two of them really didn't need to be hypocritical and polite, let alone a mere 10 million. It was late at night, and third young master Li's nightlife had just begun. After taking the money, he called his friends. Of course, Lu Chun didn't accompany him. He asked Zhang Xiaofang to drive him back to his home in Repulse Bay. When he got home, Chun Fei hadn't fallen asleep yet. She was doing beauty maintenance. She was born beautiful, and her skin was better than most people's. But no one's face could stand the ravages of time. Youth couldn't last forever, and could only be delayed through beauty maintenance. Especially for actors who often put on makeup, skincare was a very important daily work. You're back. With a mask on her face, she asked vaguely. How's it going? Lu Chun took off his coat, hugged his girlfriend, then sat down on the edge of the bed and said, we made up. Chun Fei chuckled and said, peace makes money. But then again, what's their purpose in doing so much? Do they want to invest in your film or studio? Lu Chun hesitated for a moment and answered truthfully, it was ordered by someone else. Ordered by someone else? Chun Fei was surprised. She took off the mask and asked, do you know who it is? It wasn't terrible to have enemies. In the entertainment circle, if you didn't want to be in cahoots with others, you would definitely offend someone. What was terrible was that the enemy was hiding in the dark and stabbing you at the critical moment. Chen Fei-er had been in the entertainment circle for more than 10 years, and she had seen the sinister people in the circle, so she was particularly concerned. It's Huaguan Pictures. Lu Chun had to explain. They are also shooting a film in Hong Kong, and the theme is the same as ours. It's also based on the story in Strange Stories from a Chinese studio, so there's a direct competition. Huaguan Pictures? Chen Fei-er frowned and said, I've seen the general manager of Huaguan, but Chui Xingxian, she shook her head, and there was a trace of disdain in her eyes. He's arrogant and feels good about himself. Let's not talk about this. Lu Chen smiled and held her in his arms. Honey, let's go to bed early. Then he kissed Chen Fei-er's fragrant lips. Chen Fei-er giggled and reached out to cover his mouth. I haven't taken a shower yet. Lu Chen had to let go of her reluctantly. Chen Fei slowly got up and walked to the bathroom. After a few steps, she stopped and looked back at Lu Chen with a seductive look. Do you want to go together? Lu Chen was overjoyed and jumped up. It was a charming night. The next day, the shooting of a Chinese ghost story continued. Chen Fei-er, who had begun to get into the mood, performed better and better. The number of NGs was pitifully few, which made director Wan Xiaoquan very satisfied. Now that the trouble had been completely solved, the operation of the crew was smooth, and the morale of the crew was high. It was expected that all the shooting would be completed within the limited time. In the afternoon, Chen Wenxiang brought a piece of information to Lu Chen. This information, which was not very detailed, surprised Lu Chen more or less, because he only now knew that there were more than 20 film and television agencies in the country that had started shooting new films in Hong Kong. In addition to the films that the local film companies in Hong Kong had already finished shooting or had just started shooting, there were at least 100 films participating in the competition for policy support next year. The competition was definitely extremely fierce. According to the information that Chen Wenxiang had learned, in addition to the painted skin of Huaguan Pictures, there were also Eternal Love, Spirit Fox, and many other new films that were similar to the theme of a Chinese ghost story. A Chinese ghost story was facing the competitive pressure of strong opponents. Whether it could stand out among these similar films and get the precious pass was undoubtedly still unknown. But Lu Chen was not afraid of challenges. Chapter 507. Lion Rock Film Base, Studio Number 5. In a huge shed with a real scene arrangement, 3 high-definition digital cameras were pointed up at Chen Fei-er, who was in the air. Her long sleeves fluttered in the air, and accompanied by the sound of xiu xiu, blood-red ribbons whistled out. The scene was spectacular. The studio was surrounded by green screen. This kind of shooting method, which used real scenes and post-production special effects, was the most popular and the most mature technology. Cut. Wan Xiaoquan waved the script in his hand and praised loudly, good. Today was the most important scene in a Chinese ghost story, the battle between Yin Qixia and the Thousand-Year Tree Demon. The atmosphere of the whole film had reached its climax, and it was also the part that required the most post-production. The scenes were heavy, the filming was difficult, and the requirement for the actors were high. Wan Xiaoquan originally wanted to use Chen Fei-er as a stunt double, but the latter refused. The heavenly queen of the music industry personally went into the scene to hang the wire. After many NGs, they finally finished shooting today's scene. The frequent NGs brought about high-intensity work pressure. Just now, everyone was very tired, but seeing that the protagonist, Chen Fei-er, was gritting her teeth and persevering, they had no reason to sit down and rest. Now that the filming was finally completed, many of the crew members could not help but cheer in joy. The wire that was hanging Chen Fei-er was slowly lowered. As soon as her feet touched the ground, her body suddenly went limp, and she lost her balance and was about to fall. Lu Chen was quick-witted. He quickly rushed forward and hugged her. Fei-er. The others immediately turned pale with fright and hurriedly gathered around, including Wan Xiaoquan. If anything happened to Chen Fei-er, everyone would have a hard time. It would definitely have a huge impact on the crew, and whether they could finish shooting on time would be a problem. Although she had heavy makeup on, the exhaustion on Chun Feier's face could not be hidden. She leaned in Lu Chen's arms, forced a smile, and said, "I'm fine. I'm just too tired." How could she not be tired? She had spent at least half of the day hanging in the air with all kinds of fighting moves. If she had been physically weak, she would have been paralyzed. Fortunately, Chun Feier exercised every day, and she had been sharpened by filming on the prairie, so she could persevere under such high-intensity filming. Even then, she was exhausted to the point of being unable to speak, and her forehead was covered in crystalline beads of sweat. Lu Chun hurriedly untied the wire equipment on Chun Feier, then picked her up by the waist and sent her to the lounge. The assistant brought towels, ice packs, and water. After wiping her sweat and drinking water, Chun Feier's spirit was obviously much better. Just now, she was just a little exhausted, and now she had almost recovered. But after staying in the wire for so long, coupled with the bumps during the shooting process, she had many bruises on her body, which was very painful when touched, so Lu Chun couldn't help complaining. "I told you not to use a stunt double." He was really distressed. A Chinese ghost story involved a lot of fighting and special effects scenes. The battle between Chun Feier, the villain boss, Grandma Tree Fairy, and Ma Rongzhen's Yan Qixia was the most important. The movie's action director was jointly held by Lu Chun and another professional. Lu Chun referred to many scenes from the original version of the dream world in his memory, which was very different from the previous ghost movies. At the same time, there were higher requirements for the actors. Considering that Chun Feier had never filmed an action scene, Wan Shaoquan proposed to let a member of the Lu family replace her, which was also agreed by Lu Chun. However, he did not expect Chun Feier to firmly refuse and insist on doing it herself. She shook her head and said, "It won't be fun if you use a stunt double. Besides, this is your first movie." There was a big difference between using a stunt double and using the real person. The real person was naturally the most ideal and easiest to shoot, but the premise was that the real person could perform the required actions. In fact, it was not a problem for actors to use a stunt double, because some dangerous actions could only be done by stuntmen. Moreover, if an actor was injured and hospitalized during a dangerous scene, it would drag down the entire crew. It was just that nowadays, many star artists, especially young actors, would habitually use a stunt double when they encountered a slightly more difficult scene and did not work hard to improve their own ability level. Many directors and producers, in order to catch up with the progress, often tacitly agreed or even supported this. The consequence of this practice was that when the audience watched a movie or TV series, they would always feel that the scene of a stunt double was fake and unreal, and even exposed. Chun Feier was turning to film and television. Her requirements for herself were obviously not satisfied with the female lead in Autumn in My Heart. If she did not do a move well, she would have to repeat it 10 times to pass. It would be strange if she was not tired. Lu Chun was moved and said, "Compared to the movie, you are the most important." The pursuit of career was his life goal, but in Lu Chun's heart, the most important thing was not career and fame, but family, lover, and friends. So what if he gave up the whole world for them? Chun Feier felt Lu Chun's sincerity and love from the bottom of his heart. She smiled sweetly and gently held Lu Chun's hand. A wordless, sweet, and warm atmosphere pervaded the small lounge. The assistant quietly shrank to the corner, trying to make himself invisible so as not to disturb the two. Unfortunately, some people did not see this scene. "Feier, are you okay?" Wan Shaoquan came over and asked with concern. "Do you want to go to the hospital for a checkup or something?" Although Chun Feier was not the real female lead, in the eyes of this director, she was much more important than Ye Mingzhu, so he naturally cared about her. Chun Feier was a little embarrassed and let go of Lu Chun's hand. She smiled and said, "I'm fine. I'll be fine after a night of rest." "Then rest for one more day," Wan Shaoquan said seriously. "The scenes to be shot tomorrow are not very important. Let the double do it." He was afraid that Chun Feier would be stubborn again and insist on acting by herself, so he quickly added, "You have a good rest." Then we will work together the day after tomorrow and finish all your scenes. Lu Chun said quickly. Director Wan's words make sense. Chen Feier rolled her eyes at Lu Chun coquettishly. She hesitated for a moment and nodded. Okay, Director Wan. She was not the kind of person who did not know what was good for her. She would not do something that was obviously not necessary. Wan Xiaoquan suddenly felt relieved and said with a smile, You have been in Hong Kong for more than 10 days. Tomorrow, let Lu Chun play with you. Leave the rest to us. Chapter 508. And be gentle, it's so sore, and a little harder, a little lower. It's here. In the spacious bedroom, the lamp on the bedside table was on, the soft orange light sprinkled on the big bed, and also sprinkled on the body of Chun Fe, who was lying on her stomach. She was only wearing a nightgown, her jade back was bare, and half of her breasts were exposed. Her eyes were closed, and her pretty face was flushed with an indescribable charm. As for the strange and greasy voice, the culprit who made her moan softly was currently moving his hands up and down her body, busy to the point of sweating profusely. Chun Fe, whose vital part was pressed, couldn't help but let out a long moan, like a swan that was shot by an arrow. She couldn't help but raise her pink neck, and then heavily fell down, hitting the soft pillow. After a long time, she came back to her senses, turned her face to the side, opened her starry eyes, and weakly asked, Where did you learn this from? It's really amazing. Lu Chun sat on the edge of the bed, picked up the bottle on the bedside table, poured some medicinal oil into his hand, and said with a smile, I used to know an old massage master and learned a few moves from him. Do you feel better now? Today, Chun Fe hung on the wire on the set for half a day, and when she returned home at night, she was lying on the bed, so tired that she couldn't get up, and after taking off her clothes, her body was covered with bruises. Lu Chun looked distressed, so he rummaged through the medicine cabinet, found a bottle of medicinal oil, and gave Chun Fei her medicine and massage. He bought the medicinal oil when he went shopping last time. It was an authentic Xiangjiang Taimaner brand. The materials used were very authentic, and the method of using medicinal oil to massage to reduce bruises came from Mo Ran's memory. Mo Ran had been practicing martial arts since she was a child, so injuries from falls were common. Therefore, she had learned a set of treatment methods, which happened to be used by Lu Chun on Chen Feier. The effect was really good. The medicinal oil was kneaded and seeped into the skin, and the bruises under the skin dissipated a lot. Most of these bruises were caused by hanging on the wire for a long time, and some of them were caused by bumps during the filming process. Although they were not serious injuries, the consequences would be very troublesome if they were not treated. Chun Fei turned to look at Lu Chun, who was massaging her arm. Her eyes were filled with happiness and sweetness, but after her body and mind were completely relaxed, sleepiness washed over her like a tide, causing her eyelids to droop. Soon, Chun Feier's breathing became long and smooth, and he fell into a deep sleep. There was still a faint smile on her lips. Lu Chun put down her arm and carefully covered her with a thin blanket. He then turned the brightness of the lamp to the lowest setting. After doing all this, Lu Chun left the bedroom. He still had a lot of work to do. The next day, when Chun Fei woke up from her sleep, the first thing she saw was Lu Chun, who had just walked into the bedroom with eggs and hot porridge. Lu Chun came to the bed with the plate in his hands and said with a smile, You're awake? I was just about to wake you up. Chun Fei straightened up and watched Lu Chun place the breakfast in front of her. She asked, What time is it? Lu Chun smiled and said, It's noon. You must be hungry now, right? It's noon. Hearing Lu Chun's words, Chun Fei really felt hungry. She couldn't help blushing and said coquettishly, Why didn't you wake me up earlier? Lu Chun smiled and said, You slept like a pig. How could I wake you up? It's not too late now. Chun Fei wrinkled her nose and said, You're the pig. It was very strange that Chun Fei was several years older than Lu Chun, and her debut event was much longer than Lu Chun's. However, in front of Lu Chun, she preferred to be a spoiled little girl. because this feeling made her very warm and comfortable. Lu Chen reached out to scratch her nose and said, "Eat breakfast first, then go wash your face and brush your teeth. I'll take you to a party in the afternoon." Chen Fei asked curiously, "What party?" Lu Chen said, "You should know that the Bell Tower Music Salon of Lan Kuai Fong was invited by Yi Xian. Yi Xian was a well-known singer in Xiangjiang, and his position was between the second and third tier. When Lu Chen first came to Xiangjiang, he went to Lan Kuai Fong to play and sang on the stage with Yi Xian at La Dolce Vita 97 bar, so he got to know him. At that time, Lu Chen sang a song called The Love of My Life, which was still one of the top 3 popular songs on Hong Kong radio station, which made him have a large number of fans in Xiangjiang. Yi Xian had a good reputation in the circle, so Lu Chen didn't refuse his invitation. It just happened that he was resting today, so he was going to take Chen to join in the fun. Most importantly, the Bell Tower Music Salon had a very special position in the pop music world of Xiangjiang. Bell Tower Music Salon? Chen Fei had also heard of it. "I know. When I came to Xiangjiang before, someone invited me to participate. Unfortunately, I didn't have time to perform at that time." The Bell Tower Music Salon was founded at the end of the 1980s by several leading figures in the music world at that time. The venue of the party was the Bell Tower Bar in Lan Kuai Fong. The Hong Kong Musician Salon was held irregularly, and the people invited were all powerful figures in the circle, including but not limited to singers, producers, songwriters, musicians, and music critics. As long as they had real talent, they had a chance to be invited. People in the pop music world of Xiangjiang could also participate in the Bell Tower Music Salon because it was a recognition of their own strength, and they could make more friends in the party. The original intention of the Bell Tower Music Salon was to communicate, to exchange music, to exchange ideas, and to exchange ideas about music. When Lu Chen and Chen Fei arrived at the Bell Tower Bar in Lan Kuai Fong, it was already past 3 o'clock in the afternoon. There was no other way. After yesterday's tiredness and Lu Chen's devastation, Chen Fei, who woke up at noon, was ready to use her best appearance to participate in this gathering of Xiangjiang musicians, which naturally took a lot of time. After carefully dressing up, she looked radiant, and no one could tell that she was so tired yesterday that she almost fell down. Among the many bars in Lan Kuai Fong, the Bell Tower Bar was neither the largest nor the most popular, but anyone who had been in Lan Kuai Fong knew how long its history was. Long before Lan Kuai Fong became a bar street, the Bell Tower Bar opened early. Because it rented the first and second floors of the Lan Kuai Fong Bell Tower, it got its name. Today, the Bell Tower Bar had become a historical building in Xiangjiang, and the Bell Tower Bar had also become a part of history, a place that many tourists and drinkers yearn for. But at noon today, the Bell Tower Bar hung up a sign saying it was closed because the music salon was held here and many famous singers of Xiangjiang attended. Chapter 509. The 7-story European-style bell tower stood out among the buildings in Lan Kuai Fong. The vicissitudes of 100 years had left indelible traces on this building. It still stood proudly in the wind and rain, silently witnessing the rise and fall of Hong Kong. Compared with the other bars in Lan Kuai Fong, which were full of neon lights, the exterior decoration of the Bell Tower Bar had a lot more taste of the precipitation of time. It was deep and restrained and rich in style. A simple copper signboard with beautiful hand-engraved characters, under the orange light of the antique lamps, inadvertently attracted the attention of passers-by and tourists. Unfortunately, the Bell Tower Bar was not open to the public tonight, but there were many figures holding long and short cameras wandering on the street outside the bar. There was no doubt that they were paparazzi who got the news and came to grab the news. The Bell Tower Music Salon was a gathering of Hong Kong musicians. The initiator was a famous figure in the Hong Kong pop music world. The time of the event was not fixed, and the people invited were also not fixed. But those who were qualified to be invited were all people with identity, status, or ability in the circle. Therefore, it was very normal for paparazzi to appear outside the bar. They had the most sensitive sense of smell. Any movement in the circle would be known, and they would appear in a specific place as soon as possible. At 4 o'clock in the afternoon, far from the time when Hong Kong's nightlife began, most of the bars in Lan Kwai Fong had opened for business, and the streets were full of people, many of whom were tourists from all over the world. Suddenly, flashes were lit in the crowd, accompanied by high and low screams. Wu Yanan, Jiang Wei, look, it's Zhu Wenhua. These names represented the shining stars in the Hong Kong pop music world, so they immediately attracted the attention of passers-by, and everyone gathered around to watch the fun. Those celebrities, recognized by the paparazzi, quickened their steps and walked into the bar under the cover of their assistants. The bar had already arranged security personnel at the door, and idlers and paparazzi who were not invited could not enter. In fact, as a celebrity gathering, the Bell Tower Music Salon was not very private. No matter when it was held, the news would spread to the circle in a very short time, and the paparazzi who heard the news would more or less bring some trouble to the participants. However, this trouble was nothing for the people who participated in the party. Although the Bell Tower Music Salon was just a gathering of people in the circle, its influence on the Hong Kong pop music world could not be underestimated. To a certain extent, it had become the wind vane of Hong Kong pop music. However, it must be admitted that the status of Hong Kong pop music was quite embarrassing, far from the glory of the past. The influence of the Bell Tower Music Salon was also declining, but it was becoming more and more popular. When Lu Chun and Sean Fei arrived at the Bell Tower bar, there happened to be a well-known singer in front of them. The paparazzi's attention was on the other party, so they ignored them. The paparazzis in lieu of Bell Tower Bar. And they saw the interior of the Bell Tower Bar was decorated in an extraordinary style. The designer's painstaking creativity could be seen everywhere. On the right side of the door was a long starlight wall, on which hundreds of celebrity photos were hung. Mr. Lu Chun, Mississippi Chan Fei, the one who welcomed Lu Chun and Chan Fei, was a middle-aged man with an elegant demeanor. He wore a white casual suit and had a warm and gentle smile. He had the charm of a mature man. I'm the host of this Bell Tower Music Salon, Guohuan. Welcome. Of course, the host of the Bell Tower Music Salon was not an unknown person. This Guohuai and was a famous host of Hong Kong satellite TV, a famous speaker in the news circle, and a columnist. Guohuai and came from a famous family in Hong Kong and had a wide range of contacts in and out of the circle. In addition, he had a good character, so he had been the host of the Bell Tower Music Salon for several consecutive years. When Yi Xian called to invite Lu Chun, he specifically mentioned this host. In fact, with Yi Xian's status in the Xiangjiang pop music world, he was not qualified to directly invite Lu Chun and Chan Fei to participate in the Bell Tower Music Salon. However, as a participant of many music salons, he recommended to the promoter. After getting the latter's approval, he called Lu Chun. The invitation was sent to Lu Chun's studio yesterday. Hello, Mr. Gua. Lu Chun and Chan Fei shook hands with him. When shaking hands with Chan Fei, Guohuai's eyes flashed with amazement. He said half-jokingly, I found it was a mistake to invite Mississippi Chan Fei here today. Chan Fei was stunned. Huh? Guohuai immediately smiled and said, because you are more beautiful in real life than in the photo. When everyone's attention is focused on you, no one will pay attention to me, the host. Lu Chun and Chan Fei couldn't help laughing. Guohuai was an interesting person, and his jokes were very good. The most important thing was that he used standard Mandarin to talk to the two of them, not Cantonese. Lu Chun and Chan Fei were both from the mainland. This was a respectful attitude. Chan Fei smiled and said, I think Mr. Guo's humor is enough to make everyone ignore my existence. Guohuan laughed and said, Miss Chun is really good at joking, he said to the two of them apologetically. There are still many guests coming, so please excuse me. How about we talk later? Lu Chun smiled and said, Thank you. The overall layout of the Bell Tower Bar was similar to that of many ordinary bars. It was divided into 2 floors, with a performance stage suspended in the middle. However, because of the need to hold a salon, Most of the tables and chairs had been removed and replaced with more comfortable sofas. Of course, there was a buffet table covered with a white tablecloth, on which all kinds of delicious food had been placed. Braised lamb with herbs, grilled filet steak, American-style fried bacon, fruit salad, cream cake. The silver tableware was very tempting, and the fragrance was simply mouth-watering. It was said that the independent dinner of the Bell Tower Music Salon was prepared by famous Western chefs in Hong Kong. The selection of ingredients was excellent, and the standards were quite high. Although it was not yet time for dinner, the buffet was probably prepared early to take care of the needs of the guests. There were already 20 or 30 guests in front of Lu Chun and Chun Fei-er. They were either sitting on the sofa in twos or threes, talking and laughing, or holding champagne or enjoying delicious food. The atmosphere was warm, but not noisy. Lu Chun reached out and asked a waiter for 2 glasses of champagne, one for Chun. Then he was going to find a place to sit. However, before he found a place, someone found him first. Lu Chun. Chapter 510. In the entertainment industry of Hong Kong, Lu Chun was a complete newcomer. Although he had gained considerable popularity and fame in Hong Kong with the song The Love of My Life and the incident of a Chinese ghost story, he could not be regarded as a real person in the entertainment circle. Therefore, even though Lu Chun had received the invitation to the Bell Tower Music Salon, he did not have any friends or acquaintances here, including the person who had taken the initiative to greet him. He had only met him once. However, Yi Xian's warm attitude made it easy for people to misunderstand that the two of them were friends who had known each other for many years. He smiled and said, "I was just about to call you and ask when you would come over." As he spoke, his gaze fell on Chun Fei-er, and he revealed a pleasantly surprised expression. "This is your girlfriend, Miss Chun Fei-er, right?" According to the rules of the Bell Tower Music Salon, invited guests were allowed to bring a companion. A male companion, female companion, or assistant manager were all fine. Yi Xian had invited Lu Chun. He didn't expect Lu Chun to bring Chun Fei-er along. This made him, the inviter, feel very honored, and his smile became much more sincere. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Yes, thank you for your invitation. Thank you for giving us the opportunity to participate in this music event. Fei-er, this is Mr. Yi Xian." Chun Fei-er smiled faintly and nodded. "Hello, Mr. Yi." "Hello, hello." Yi Xian became more and more enthusiastic, and there was even a hint of eagerness in his smile. This scene happened to be seen by a few young people who were chatting not far away. One of them, a thin man, curled his lips in disdain and said, "This Yi Xian, he's even flattering people from the mainland. He's not afraid of losing face." One of his companions smiled and said, "I've heard that Yi Xian intends to enter the mainland market. It's normal for him to flatter these two." As a local pop singer in Xiangjiang, Yi Xian's status wasn't high. He belonged to the second or third tier stars, but his talent were not bad. He could write lyrics, write songs, and play guitar, bass, and keyboard. He was quite popular with fans on many occasions. In terms of conduct, Yi Xian's personality was rather tactful. He never easily offended others, nor did he take the initiative to scheme against others. He didn't speak ill of others behind their backs, and he didn't act like a big shot. He would never have a temper. This made Yi Xian quite popular in the circle, which was why he was able to participate in the Bell Tower Music Salon so many times. However, in the eyes of many of the new idols in Xiangjiang's pop music world who pursued individuality, Yi Xian wasn't a big shot senior that they could submit to, nor was he a peer that had a common topic with them. The thin man glanced at another tall and handsome young man and chuckled. "Dawei, that's Lu Chun who's filming a Chinese ghost story. He's your opponent, right? Aren't you going to say hello?" He added meaningfully, "Chun Fei-er is really beautiful. She's the heavenly queen of the mainland music industry." The young man named Dawei laughed and said, "What the hell are you trying to do now?" The thin man shrugged innocently and said, "I'm not playing tricks. I'm just stating the facts. If you don't want to go, it doesn't matter. It's not like we're friends. Dawei curled his lips and expressed his contempt for the thin man's clumsy provocation. However, after pondering for a moment, he still picked up a glass of champagne and walked towards Lu Chun. Although he knew that his companion was deliberately provoking him, his pride made it impossible for him to retreat. Seeing that Dawei was really going to greet Lu Chun, the thin man's lips curled into a sly smile. He also picked up a glass of wine, gently shook it, and said, "There's a good show to watch." The other two companions also laughed. "You are Lu Chun?" Dawei walked straight to Lu Chun and asked bluntly. Lu Chun, who was chatting with Yi Xian, was stunned. He didn't know who this slightly aggressive fellow was. The avant-garde dress, handsome appearance, and not low height. The other party's age and image were the popular little fresh meat type in the entertainment industry, including the arrogance and confidence between his eyebrows. Yi Xian was still smooth and quickly introduced. "Lu Chun, this is Jiang Wei from Star Art Entertainment, the star of hope of our Hong Kong pop music industry. He has already released a music album in the past year." However, Lu Chun had never heard of Jiang Wei's name. He just nodded out of politeness and said hello. The other party's attitude made Lu Chun unhappy, so his attitude could not be said to be enthusiastic. Is the star of hope of Hong Kong pop music very powerful? However, Lu Chun's cold attitude made Jiang Wei very unhappy, and what annoyed him was that Lu Chun did not have any reaction to his name, as if he did not exist in his eyes at all. As a new generation of idol artists in Hong Kong entertainment industry, this was the most intolerable thing for Jiang Wei. He raised his chin and said, "Please remember my name, because I will be the one to defeat you." After saying that, Jiang Wei turned around and left. However, when he left, he couldn't help but take another look at Chen Feier. There were quite a few guests who had already arrived at the Bell Tower bar, including several female celebrities and socialites in the circle. There were also many guests who had brought their female companions, and there were quite a few beauties present. However, regardless of appearance or temperament, none of them could compare to Chen Feier. Jiang Wei was also a little tempted. However, as arrogant as he was, he would never choose this time to curry favor with Chen Feier. His provocation towards Lu Chun was also to leave a deep impression on Chen Feier. However, Chen Feier looked at the champagne glass in his hand with a smile on his face, as if he did not exist at all. Yi Xian, who introduced him to Jiang Wei, couldn't help but feel awkward. He said with a wry smile, "Jiang Wei, he is the male lead of the new film Painted Skin produced by Star Art Entertainment and Huaguan Pictures." As expected, Yi Xian never spoke ill of others behind their backs, even if the other party had just slapped him in the face. However, he pointed out Jiang Wei's other identity. Lu Chun suddenly understood. It turned out that he was really a competitor. No wonder he said he wanted to defeat him. Some time ago, due to the accident of the crew, Lu Chun specially asked Chen Wenxiang to collect information about the new movies that were being filmed in Xiangjiang at the same time and were interested in participating in the competition for the support policy. Know yourself and know your enemy, and you will never be defeated. He had neglected this point in the past, until the emergence of Huaguan Pictures. In this circle, most of the time, it was not just about doing your own thing, but also about paying attention to your opponent's movements. Only in this way can you make targeted adjustments at any time and make yourself invincible. Among the opponent information that Chen Wenxiang had collected, the new film Painted Skin produced by Star Art Entertainment and Huaguan Pictures was undoubtedly the most important, because this film was undoubtedly the biggest competitor of a Chinese ghost story. It was true that enemies would not meet unless they met. Lu Chun did not expect to meet the male lead of Painted Skin at the music salon. He finally remembered Jiang Wei's name. The entertainment circle of Xiangjiang was really small. Chapter 511. Strategically, one had to look down on the enemy, and tactically, one had to pay attention to the enemy. Although Lu Chun has strong confidence in a Chinese ghost story, which he led, he will never underestimate any opponent, especially a highly competitive film of the same type like Painted Skin. The Painted Skin was a heavy investment by Huaguan Pictures into Xiangjiang. This film adaptation of Strange Tales from a Chinese studio claimed to have a total investment of more than 100 million yuan, a strong cast, and a large number of popular stars from both sides of the Taiwan Strait. It was also said that the post-production special effects were signed to Xiangjiang's New Visual Imaging. New Visual Imaging was a famous film and television post-production special effects company in Xiangjiang. Its founder had worked in a large special effects company in Hollywood for 10 years and had accumulated rich experience. He returned to Xiangjiang to start a business and recruited a large number of professional talents. He participated in the production of many blockbusters in Xiangjiang and the mainland and had a good reputation in the industry. The director of The Painted Skin, Ding Tai, had won 2 Best Director awards at the Xiangjiang Film Awards. Huaguan Pictures and Star Art Entertainment had teamed up and made such a big move. They had invested so much in The Painted Skin, so Cui Xingxian naturally could not allow himself to fail. He was determined to get the green passage. He had mobilized a large number of people to make a movie in Xiangjiang. Of course, it was not just for Xiangjiang's film support policy, but also to expand the film market in Xiangjiang and at the same time to Taiwan and Southeast Asia. This was an important part of Huaguan Pictures' plan to go south. Under such circumstances, Lu Chen's A Chinese Ghost Story had naturally become a rather conspicuous stumbling block. If Lu Chen was just an unknown newcomer, Cui Xingxian would not care at all. He could directly crush him with his work. However, Lu Chen was now a hot star in the country. The great success of his 2 TV series made him a well-known existence in the film and television industry. Cui Xingxian could not ignore him. Most importantly, Lu Chen's second TV series, Full House of Romance, once defeated a strong opponent with a weak one and made Xiangnan Satellite TV almost lose face. 10. Romantic House, when Full of Romance first aired, Shonen TV's annual drama Sea of Love was competing with it in terms of viewership ratings. As a result, the latter was forced to change its broadcast time to avoid the spotlight. With such a vivid example in the past, Cui Xingxian naturally regarded Lu Chen as the #1 threat. Even if A Chinese Ghost Story was big and weaker than The Painted Skin in terms of investment and cast, he did not dare to let his guard down. If he repeated the mistakes of Sea of Love, Cui Xingxian would be in big trouble. The TV could still change the broadcast time, but it was impossible to change the movie when it was released. It would be a crushing defeat. It was precisely because Cui Xingxian valued Lu Chen, coupled with personal emotional factors, that the incident of Honghua harassing A Chinese Ghost Story happened. Although Cui Xingxian's claws had been cut off cleanly, he obviously would not let it go. If he couldn't do it in the dark, then he would do it openly. Now, Huaguan Pictures and Star Art Entertainment had recognized A Chinese Ghost Story as their #1 opponent and had arranged a corresponding publicity plan. This was the root cause of Jiang Wei's provocation towards Lu Chen. Yi Xian had a little understanding of such complicated internal affairs, but he had no intention of getting involved. He cleverly changed the topic and chatted with Lu Chen about the theme of this salon. Since its inception, the Bell Tower Music Salon had been successfully held hundreds of times. Almost all the big shots in the Hong Kong pop music world had participated in it, so it had a great influence in the industry. According to the convention, every music salon had a topic for discussion. The topic could be very broad or very focused, such as the development trend of Chinese pop music or the style evolution of Cantonese love songs. A free and relaxed discussion atmosphere was the characteristic of the Bell Tower Music Salon. And the theme of today's music salon was a little big: the past, present, and future of Hong Kong pop music. To be honest, such a big topic was enough to write a thick collection of essays. As the founder of Chinese pop music, Hong Kong pop music had too many things to say. Of course, Yi Xian knew that this topic was too big and he couldn't explain it clearly in a short time. So he didn't talk about the past and future of Hong Kong pop music. He only talked about the present, indicating that he wanted to hear Lu Chen's opinion. Even outsiders could see the dilemma that Hong Kong's pop music industry was facing. However, it was undoubtedly very difficult to break out of the trap. As the saying goes, the onlookers are confused. Perhaps an excellent musician from the mainland like Lu Chan might be able to give some useful advice. Perhaps it was because this topic had piqued the interest of the guests in the salon. Soon, many people gathered around. Some were serious out of good intentions, while others were not so kind and were ready to nitpick. Although most of the people present had met Lu Chan for the first time, they basically knew where Lu Chan came from. This young artist from the mainland had been in the limelight in Hong Kong recently. In the face of all kinds of gazes from around, Lu Chan was a little speechless. Yi Xian had given him a big topic. If he really talked about it, he wouldn't be able to finish it even after a few days and nights. Hong Kong pop music started in the middle and late 1970s. Japanese songs began to be popular in the Hong Kong music industry. Like the economic status of Hong Kong, it entered a period of rapid rise. It was common for popular singers to release 2 or 3 songs a year. Due to the lack of local composers, Japanese songs and Cantonese lyrics became a trend, and there were also a number of singing stars who became famous by covering songs until the 1980s. In the 1980s, Hong Kong was innocent and bright, and had a beautiful fantasy of the future. The times were rumbling forward, and everything was not worth mentioning. In the middle and late 1980s, people in Hong Kong began to emphasize emotional consumption. Everyone pursued a unique personal style and tried to get rid of single consumption to show personal taste. This social trend of thought brought new demands, including pop music. Covers of Japanese songs and Cantonese lyrics could no longer meet the appreciation needs of the majority of fans. Record companies began to pay attention to original works and recruited a large number of professional songwriters. As a result, Hong Kong pop music entered a new period of development. Good songs and classics emerged one after another, and a large number of them were imported to the mainland, which had a huge impact on the mainland pop music. The 1980s and 1990s were the golden age of Hong Kong pop music. The heavenly king and queen of the singing industry each led the coquettish. Songwriters emerged one after another, and hundreds of flowers competed for beauty. However, in a new century, Hong Kong pop music gradually could not keep up with the times. The heavenly king and queen gradually aged, and the songwriters lacked inspiration. The new generation of singers and artists learned from Japanese and Korean stars and embarked on the path of idols. History seemed to be reincarnating. In the current Hong Kong pop music world, imitation and plagiarism became a trend. However, the imitation and cover targets increased from Japan to Europe, America, Japan, and South Korea. Singers no longer relied on selling albums to make money. It was mainstream for celebrities and singers to sell their looks and looks. This was where the interests of the major entertainment media companies lay. So how could they abandon this good way to make money? As for the Hong Kong pop music world, who cared about life and death, there was a dilemma, and it was difficult to break it. The current situation of Hong Kong's pop music world had many similarities with that of the mainland. How could Lu Chan have the ability to break the predicament with bold words? But if he did not say anything, or only said something in general, he would be looked down upon. After thinking about it, Lu Chan decided to say something. Chapter 512. I think that in terms of original pop music, Xiangjiang should learn from the mainland. Lu Chan didn't say much at the beginning, but as soon as he opened his mouth, it caused an uproar. Some of the Xiangjiang musicians who gathered around to listen to the excitement were dumbfounded. Some sneered disdainfully, some were thoughtful, and some were furious. Many people thought that Lu Chan's words were ridiculous. For a long time in the past, excluding niche types of music such as national rock, the mainland pop music had always been the imitator and follower of Xiangjiang pop music. The latter had a huge influence on the former. From the late 1990s to the beginning of the new century, many Xiangjiang musicians went north to develop, which greatly promoted the development of mainland pop music. Therefore, to some extent, it was not an exaggeration to say that Xiangjiang was the teacher of the mainland in terms of pop music. Although Xiangjiang's pop music had declined, it was impossible for them, the local musicians of Xiangjiang, to say that Xiangjiang should learn from the mainland. Especially since this sentence came from the mouth of Lu Chun, a singer-artist from the mainland. For a moment, the crowd was in an uproar, and there was a somewhat tense atmosphere. If it wasn't for the basic courtesy of social occasions, someone would have already come out and scolded Lu Chun loudly. Such a scene made Yi Xian, who started the topic, secretly complain. He didn't expect Lu Chun to be so straightforward, causing him to fall into a rather awkward situation. Fortunately, Yi Xian was also somewhat quick-witted, so he simply continued the topic, "Why do you say that?" If the conversation between the two of them was regarded as a crosstalk, then Yi Xian was undoubtedly playing the role of a supporting character. This way, he could take away the firepower and make others pay more attention to Lu Chun and forget about him, the culprit. Lu Chun smiled and said, "Because in some aspects, the mainland is indeed doing better than Xiangjiang." His voice was not loud, and it was even quite gentle, but his words were filled with unshakable confidence. In fact, domestic pop music is also facing a similar problem as Hong Kong. Plagiarism and imitation are common, and local original works are dispirited and deeply influenced by Japan, South Korea, Europe, and the United States. However, many domestic musicians have long been aware of this problem and have made changes in many aspects. The simplest example is that in the past 2 years, domestic music talent shows have paid more and more attention to originality, and even launched programs such as Super Singer and so on. Although the producer of Super Singer is shown in TV, and there is strong commercial interest behind supporting the original work, Lu Chun is still supportive of the program itself, because it could allow many outstanding singers and composers to stand out and condense the power of original music. Moreover, the treatment of domestic songwriters has been greatly improved. With the recovery of the pop music market, capable songwriters are becoming more and more popular with entertainment agencies. In contrast, the entertainment industry in Xiangjiang is complacent and has no courage and determination to change the status quo. They are obsessed with playing the leftovers from Europe, the United States, Japan, and South Korea. They frequently launch idol artists to hype and publicize, stare at the pockets of young people in Xiangjiang, and never take originality seriously. Especially in Xiangjiang's talent show, Miss Xiangjiang, Miss Asia, Idol Awards, and so on occupy the mainstream. It looks lively and glorious, but after taking off the gorgeous and noisy coat, what's left inside? Lu Chun said bluntly, "When I was a child, I listened to a lot of excellent and classic Cantonese songs, but now I still listen to those old songs." Isn't this the problem of Xiangjiang pop music in terms of originality? Many people around fell into silence, because what Lu Chun said was completely true, and they could not refute it. Some people were not convinced and asked, "Is the original work in the mainland really better than in Xiangjiang?" Lu Chun smiled and said, "I'm not modest to say that it's true. I'll take myself as an example. I'm also a songwriter. At present, my personal studio's offer to the public is 1 million yuan per work. 1 million yuan per song." There was a sudden sound of light exclamations and gasps around, because this price was completely beyond their expectations. It should be known that the best songwriter in Xiangjiang, Ouyang Durong, was only around 300,000 yuan for a song. The height determines the thickness and level. With Lu Chun as a benchmark, the value of the original work in the mainland must not be low, at least far beyond the level of Xiangjiang. Someone muttered doubtfully, "Is it true or not?" When Lu Chun first came to Xiangjiang, when he attended a charity auction, he took out a work as an auction item and sold it at a high price of 1 million yuan. This matter was also spread in the circle, but not many people took it seriously because many charity auctions were just hype. A so-called modern art painting with random graffiti could be sold for tens of millions of yuan. Everyone in the industry was well aware of the trickery involved. But now that Lu Chun said himself, it was different. If he bragged, he would become a joke in the circle. "Of course it's true," someone answered for Lu Chun decisively. Mr. Liu Chun is the most outstanding music composer in the mainland. As far as I know, his studio's work has been arranged until 2018, and he has temporarily stopped booking. Everyone's eyes were focused on the other party. Madame Jean. It was Jean Mingxiu, the boss of Madame Jin's entertainment company, who came forward to testify for Liu Chun. The doubters were suddenly speechless. Jean Mingxiu was born in a famous family. When she was in her 20s, she founded an entertainment company involved in the production of movies and TV variety shows and trained artists and singers. For decades, she had sent a large number of talents to the entertainment industry in Xinjiang. Famous actors Liu Jian, Gu Rong, singers Gao Meifeng, Li Li, and so on were all taught by Madame Jean. In the entertainment industry in Xinjiang, she was definitely at the top. Although she did not have the status of a superstar, any superstar or queen would give her some face. Her testimony naturally carried a lot of weight. Jean Mingxiu ignored the surprised eyes around her and said to Liu Chun with a smile, "Liu Chun, long time no see." Then, this famous figure in the entertainment industry in Xinjiang walked forward and held Chun Feier's little hand, with a look of surprise as if they had not met for a long time. "Feier, you are getting more and more beautiful." Chun Feier grinned and said, "Sister Jean, you are getting younger and younger." Madame Jean shook her head. "Don't make fun of Sister Jean. If I had known that you two were invited to participate in the salon, I would have come earlier." Holding Chun Feier's hand, she looked around and said seriously, "I just listened to a few words, and I feel that what Mr. Liu Chun said is very reasonable. The current situation of Xinjiang's pop music needs us to work together to change it. It's not enough to just talk. We need action. I suggest that we create a competition to encourage and support original music. It's not a problem to use the form of a real talent show. As long as we can let Xinjiang's pop music and Cantonese songs regain their glory, it will be worth it no matter how much we pay." Madame Jin's aura was undoubtedly strong. As soon as she appeared, she attracted everyone's attention and also pulled the topic caused by Liu Chun to a higher level. Chapter 513. The Bell Tower Music Salon was a gathering of Hong Kong musicians, but the invitees were not limited to Hong Kong musicians. In addition to singers and songwriters, there were also many executives in the media and entertainment industry. But in Hong Kong's pan-entertainment industry, they undoubtedly stood in a high-level position. The atmosphere in the music salon was very relaxed, and there were not many rules and regulations. The initiator of the salon would choose a theme, and then the participants would be free to express themselves, talk, discuss, and even give impromptu speeches or performances on the stage. The theme of the exchange would never change. However, it was rare for Mrs. Jean to make a clear and unambiguous proposal here. And this proposal was very sensitive to everyone. Since the beginning of the new century, the domestic entertainment industry had developed rapidly. Influenced by the entertainment trend in Europe, the United States, Japan, and South Korea, domestic reality talent shows had emerged one after another. Although there were many voices of criticism, a large number of talent show stars had emerged, and many of them were eventually promoted to A-list positions. Many artists from Hong Kong's Treasure Island were envious of them and rushed to the mainland to fight for their lives. On the surface, it seemed that Hong Kong's entertainment industry did not care much about this, and even a little disdainful. But in fact, many entertainment media companies had cooperated with Hong Kong TV stations to launch talent shows and singing competitions, but they either ended in failure or embarrassment and did not have much influence. The reasons were the lack of capital investment, the poor publicity of the TV stations, and so on. The most typical example was the judges of talent shows. Their appearance fees were often very low, and it was difficult to attract the real big stars to participate, or even if they participated, they would not work hard. As for the rewards won by the winner, it was not worth mentioning compared to the winner of the domestic talent show. All kinds of problems made Hong Kong's talent shows, except for Miss Hong Kong and Miss Asia, were not good enough and had no influence in the mainland at all. Therefore, although Mrs. Jin's proposal was lofty, It instantly caused an awkward silence. Everyone looked at each other, not knowing what to say directly. They each had their own positions, and each represented their own interests. It was really unrealistic to want to unite and organize a talent show with the theme of encouraging and supporting original music. Mrs. Jin's idea was a little too idealistic. It was not that they did not want to give face to Mrs. Jin, but this matter was really too complicated. There were few people who agreed. Madame Jean sighed to herself when she saw this scene. A look of disappointment flashed across her eyes. The influence of the Bell Tower Music Salon in Hong Kong's entertainment circle was constantly weakening, which had a lot to do with the fact that most of the participants could only talk and did not know how to act. Now, it had basically become a social gathering within the circle. What's the difference between this and other gatherings? She had been in the entertainment industry for decades and knew the current situation in the industry like the back of her hand. Just now, after listening to Lu Chen's words, she couldn't help but stand up and really wanted to do something for Hong Kong pop music. The result was still so disappointing. Lu Chen said, "I think Jin's suggestion is very good. Lu Chen Studio is willing to contribute to it." Madame Jean smiled gratefully at Lu Chen, who helped her out. It was a pity that Lu Chen came from the mainland and was destined not to belong to Xiangjiang. Otherwise, count me in. At this moment, a warm and mellow voice rang out from the crowd. Who is it? Everyone could understand why Lu Chen supported Madame Jean. After all, the latter had just supported the former, and the two were supporting each other. But who agreed with Madame Jin's unreliable idea? Everyone wanted to see. As a result, everyone was dumbfounded. The person who said, "Count me," and looked like he was in his 40s. He was not tall and had a faint smile on his face, but no one present dared to look down on him. Because this middle-aged man was the top big shot in Hong Kong's entertainment circle, the most popular heavenly king, Lu Gangsheng. No one expected that Lu Gangsheng would also participate in this music salon, but it was actually normal for him to appear here, because Lu Gangsheng was one of the founders of the Bell Tower Music Salon. At that time, the young Lu Gangsheng was already one of the leading figures in Hong Kong's pop music world. The head of the Heavenly King, the chief idol of Asia, Hong Kong's non-official justice of the peace, and Asian superstar. There were too many titles and honors on this person. The voice he made, in a sense, represented the will of Hong Kong's entertainment circle, which no one could compare with. Brother Sheng, Hong Kong student, Mr. Lu, whether in the entertainment circle or outside, regardless of their status, everyone present greeted Lu Gangsheng. Lu Gangsheng responded to them one by one with a smile. Under everyone's gaze, he walked in front of Lu Chen and took the initiative to reach out to the latter. "Hello." Lu Chen quickly shook his hand. "Hello, Brother Hua." This was one of his idols when he was a child. Today was the first time he saw him in person, so he was really excited. Lu Gangsheng said with a smile, "I'm here today to see a music genius like you." "I'm not disappointed." There were low exclamations of surprise around. A music genius. Lu Gangsheng's evaluation of Lu Chen was very high. Lu Chen said modestly, "Brother Hua, you flatter me. I still have a lot to learn from you." Lu Gangsheng nodded with a smile and looked at Chun Fei. "Miss Chun, we meet again." Chun Fei reached out and said, "Hello, Brother Hua." She was a heavenly queen of the pop music world in the mainland, but in terms of influence, she was not as influential as this person in front of her. The two had met when they participated in a large-scale cultural performance. Finally, Lu Gangsheng looked at Mrs. Jean and said, "Sister Jean, you will organize this competition. I can spare some time to be a judge." Mrs. Jean was pleasantly surprised. "Thank you, Hong Kong student." The two were old acquaintances, but they could not be regarded as real friends. Lu Gangsheng came out to support her, obviously not because of this shallow friendship, but because of his support and love for Hong Kong's pop music. If Mrs. Jin's previous proposal was just a flashy idea, then now, with Lu Gangsheng's participation, the idea suddenly became practical and highly operable. Many people's minds suddenly became active. Lu Gangsheng looked at Lu Chen again and said, "Lu Chen, since Sister Jin's idea is because of you, you can think of a name for this pop music competition, and I also hope that you could be one of the judges." In an instant, it was as if another bomb had exploded in the crowd, and many people were shocked. Chapter 514. Hong Kong has two major wireless channels, Xiangjiang Satellite TV and Asia Television, and more than a dozen small and medium-sized cable channels. Every year, there are countless variety entertainment programs, including various reality talent competitions. However, there has never been a competition specifically for original pop music, so Mrs. Jin's previous proposal was not approved by many people, and they felt that she was a bit whimsical. However, Lu Gongxing's support and participation suddenly made this whimsical idea very operable. If he was willing to serve as a judge, I'm afraid that both the satellite TV and ATV would rush to host it. It should be known that as the top big shot in Hong Kong's entertainment industry, Lu Gangxing rarely appeared in variety shows. At most, he appeared in high-end interview programs. His firm attitude made people speculate that the Heavenly King might have the same idea. What really surprised people was not Lu Gangxing's attitude, but his appreciation for Lu Chun. In the circle, Lu Gangxing has always had a good reputation for being willing to promote newcomers. Many popular stars have been recommended and recognized by him. However, his appreciation for Lu Chun was obviously beyond the ordinary level. Letting Lu Chun name the competition and sincerely inviting Lu Chun to be a judge was tantamount to elevating Lu Chun to almost the same position as him. What did a young artist from the mainland do to make Heavenly King Lu favor him so much? Looking at Lu Chun, there were shock, doubt, jealousy, and scorching eyes that seemed to be able to melt gold and iron. If it was any other Xiangjiang artist, even if they were unknown before, as long as the news spread out, they would definitely be on the prominent position of the major entertainment sections and even the headlines, becoming famous overnight. It was like a big pie falling from the sky. Lu Chun himself was also very surprised and even felt a little incredulous, but he saw true appreciation and sincerity in Lu Gongxing's eyes. "Thank you, Brother Sheng." Lu Chun pondered for a moment and said, "Then I'll start with a name. How about Xiangjiang New Voice?" "Xiangjiang New Voice?" Lu Gongxing's eyes lit up, nodded, and praised. "This name is good, easy to understand. It has a good meaning. What do you think about using Hong Kong New Voice?" Since Lao Tian Wang had already acknowledged and praised it, who wouldn't give him face? Moreover, the name was indeed not bad. It was straightforward and catchy, which was very good for publicity. "Not bad, not bad. Xiangjiang New Voice, good name." "I agree." They looked at Lu Chun with increasingly scorching eyes. If the original music talent contest Hong Kong New Voice could really be held and succeeded, Lu Chun would undoubtedly engrave his name in the history of Hong Kong pop music and leave an indelible mark in the Hong Kong pop music world. Lu Gangsheng was very satisfied. "Since everyone supports it, let's use this name." Pa, pa, pa. As soon as he finished speaking, there was a warm round of applause. More and more guests gathered around Lu Chun and Lu Gangsheng. Almost all the people in the circle had gathered here. When they learned the ins and outs of the matter, they all felt as if they had witnessed history. Lu Chun said, "I have a suggestion. I think the standard of Hong Kong New Voice must be the highest, and we can't be stingy in terms of rewards. Therefore, on behalf of Lu Chun Studio, I will donate 5 million yuan as the competition reward fund." One of the characteristics of Hong Kong talent shows was that the rewards were quite stingy. Even the most popular Hong Kong sister and Asian sister would not receive more than 1 million yuan as the reward for the champion. At most, it was just a reputation reward. As for other ordinary talent shows, it was already very good to give tens of thousands of yuan. The invited guests and judges could only get a notice fee, which was completely incomparable to the situation in the mainland. The theme of Hong Kong New Voice was to encourage and support original works. If there were no generous rewards, how could it attract more powerful and talented singers and authors to participate enthusiastically. It was not enough to rely on Lu Gongxing's reputation alone. As the saying goes, there will always be brave men under great rewards. However, his good proposal made many people present a little embarrassed. Everyone knew their own situation. How could people in the circle not know the morality of Hong Kong TV station? Lu Gangshang said with a smile. Then Hong Kong Shing Media will donate 10 million yuan. Hong Kong Shing Media was Lu Gongxing's own company. It was basically similar to a studio, but on a larger scale. Lu Chun had donated 5 million yuan. As a top big shot in Hong Kong's entertainment circle and a superstar in the pop music world, it was impossible for him to donate less than Lu Chun. 10 million yuan. Everyone present knew that Lu Gangxing was serious this time, because he had never spoken a lie. Madame Jean then said with a smile, then Madame Jean Entertainment will also support 5 million yuan. That would be 20 million yuan. Even as a reward fund, this number was quite dazzling, not to mention that it was just the beginning. Many people could not stand it anymore and immediately followed suit. Oriental Records will support 1 million yuan. I personally support 500,000 yuan. Chen's Media will support 1 million yuan. We, Chun Fei, said with a smile, I personally support 2 million yuan. Just the total amount of people who donated and supported on the spot had steadily exceeded 50 million yuan. There were still many people who needed to report to their respective companies, and the amount would definitely increase later. This music salon with the theme of the past, present, and future of Hong Kong's pop music turned out to be a fundraising meeting for an original talent competition, which made people more or less not know whether to laugh or cry. However, if one were to look at the essence from the surface, even though such a situation was largely accidental, there was also an inevitable element in the unseen world. That was the musicians of Hong Kong. They were worried about the present and future of Hong Kong's pop music. They were also seeking change and exploration. The appearance of Hong Kong new singing was just in time. There was also a reason that most people could not say, and that was to learn from the mainland. We, ATV, are willing to host Hong Kong new singing with high standards. At this time, a middle-aged man squeezed out of the crowd and said loudly, I guarantee that it will be the same standard as Sister Ya's selection. Everyone recognized that this middle-aged man was Lu Hanyang, the music director of ATV's variety channel. How can Sister Ya compare to Sister Hong? Before he finished speaking, another slightly hoarse voice immediately sounded. Such a program should naturally be hosted by our satellite TV for the best effect. The person who opposed Lu Hanyang was a short and strong man. And this person was the producer of Hong Kong satellite TV music channel, Li Mingyuan. Chapter 515. In the traditional media circle of Xiangjiang, Xiangjiang Satellite TV and ATV were undoubtedly the real enemies. The feud between the two wireless hegemons could be traced back decades, and the entanglement could be made into a long drama of hundreds of episodes. The competition between them had been running through the history of Xiangjiang screen. It was normal for the guests attending the Bell Tower Music Salon to include people from satellite TV and ATV. Whether it was the music director of ATV Variety Channel, Lu Hanyang, or the producer of satellite TV music channel, Li Mingyuan, they could all be regarded as part of Xiangjiang's pop music scene. As musicians, none of them were fools to be able to sit in their respective positions today. From the topic of Lu Chun to Madame Jin's idea, to Lu Gongxing's expression of support, it finally evolved into a grand event of Xiangjiang's musicians. Lu Hanyang and Li Mingyuan were keenly aware of the smell of opportunity. When it came to variety shows, satellite TV and ATV were the best organizers. Every year, the ratings of satellite TV's Hong Kong sister selection and ATV's Asian sister selection had never been lower than 20%. However, it was an indisputable fact that the ratings of the two big sisters were decreasing year by year. Last year, The ratings of the semi-finals of the Hong Kong sister selection once touched the bottom line of 20%. Xinjiang Satellite TV spent a lot of effort and resources to finally not break the red line. The situation of the Asian sister selection was not much better. The reason was very simple. Under the impact of the internet, the traditional media did not have a good time. After decades of Hong Kong sister selection, there were no new tricks to play, and the audience began to feel aesthetic fatigue. Under such circumstances, seeking innovation and change became the pursuit of the program producers of the two major wireless stations. Xinjiang News Singing was undoubtedly an excellent program. It had ideas, a source of funding, and the support of a heavenly king like Lu Gangsheng. It was difficult to fail. It was like a golden hen that had just jumped out of the wild. Who wouldn't want to carry it home? Lu Hanyang and Li Mingyuan suddenly became aggressive roosters, staring at each other and not giving in. If they missed the production of this promising talent competition, it would be hard for anyone to explain it when they went back. The smell of gunpowder between the two was getting stronger and stronger. Lu Gangsheng, who was very experienced, smiled and helped them out of the predicament. Don't argue for the time being. Right now, Hong Kong New Voice is just a preliminary idea. It's better for you to make a plan first and then show it to everyone. Whoever's plan is better will be chosen. What do you think? Heavenly King Lu deserved to be called Heavenly King Lu. He easily solved the dispute between the two of them and also set up a new benchmark for Hong Kong New Voice. Big increase in operability. Whether it was the satellite TV or ATV, whichever plan was better would be chosen. The supporters of the project would vote on the plan, which was fair and reasonable. Lu Hanyang and Li Mingyuan had nothing to say, and the guests present all applauded in agreement. No one knew who started it, but warm applause sounded in the bar again, because everyone had witnessed the birth of a grand event in the pop music world of Xinjiang, which was likely to change the future of the music world of Xinjiang. Lu Chun, Chun Fei-er, Lu Gangsheng, and Madame Jean were surrounded by everyone. The applause was for them. Some of the people around them were well-known singers in the music world, some were seniors in the industry, and some were senior executives in the media. People like Yi Xian couldn't even squeeze into the top two circles. As for Jiang Wei, who had previously said that he would defeat Lu Chun, he could only shrink in the corner with a few friends. Compared to Lu Gangsheng, they were not even as good as the stars under the bright moon. Lu Gangsheng's appreciation for Lu Chun made Jiang Wei's previous provocation seem extremely ridiculous. At this time, the host of the music salon, Guo Huaiyan, finally appeared. He said with a smile, "Everyone, our chef has prepared today's special delicacies for you. Talking is important, but eating is equally important." One of the traditions of the Bell Tower Music Salon was that there was a reception dinner, which was usually a Western-style buffet. The chefs were famous chefs in Xinjiang, and these Western-style chefs would take out their best works during the mealtime. The atmosphere at the scene suddenly became relaxed. Everyone chatted and laughed as they went to taste the delicacies. Lu Gangsheng said to Lu Chun, "How about we eat something first, and then we sit down and talk?" Lu Chun said with a smile, "That's exactly what I want." Lu Gangsheng looked like he was only in his 40s. He had a face that could leave a deep impression on people. He was handsome and resolute, and had the maturity and confidence of years. In fact, this king of Xinjiang was already 54 years old. In this superstar, Lu Chun saw the shadow of Tan Hong. The two were very similar in many ways. They were also the strongest in their respective fields. They had won so many awards that they lost interest. However, Tan Hong had chosen to retire early, and Lu Gangsheng was active in the singing and film circles. However, fame and fortune were not important to this king of Xinjiang. He sincerely wanted to do something for the pop music of Xinjiang and wanted to save the Cantonese pop song that was currently in danger. This was the most important reason why Lu Gangsheng appreciated Lu Chun. It was because he saw the future hope of Chinese pop music in Lu Chun. For Lu Chun, it was really wonderful to be able to communicate with his idol in his youth like this. There was a kind of fulfillment of a dream that exceeded his wish. I really hope that you can stay in Xiangjiang. The king of Xiangjiang said to Lu Chun very seriously, create more and better Cantonese songs. If you can't stay, please create more Cantonese works in the future. A good song like The Love of My Life. Lu Chun nodded and replied solemnly, I will work hard. Lu Gangsheng smiled and gave Lu Chun his personal business card. You can look for me at any time if you need anything. Lu Gangsheng rarely gave his personal business card to others, except for his real friends. Madame Jean said with a smile, I'll take a picture of you as a souvenir. Lu Gangsheng, who was about to leave, readily agreed. Not only did he take a picture with Lu Chun, but he also took several pictures with Chun Fei and the other three. Then, several of the photos were uploaded to his blog by Chun Fei with his mobile phone. It immediately caused a lot of sensation in her and Lu Chun's fan circle. Heavenly King Lu. Two new and old handsome guys taking a picture together. So cool. Could it be that Lu Gangsheng will also make a cameo appearance in the new movie? I like him very much. My Chun is so talented. Heavenly King Lu must appreciate it very much. I look forward to the cooperation between my Chun, Fei, and Heavenly King Lu. Cooperation +1. No matter how much the internet was buzzing, for Lu Chun, the Bell Tower Music Salon was undoubtedly a key step for him to integrate into the Xiangjiang entertainment circle. 2 days later, Chun Fei, who had finished all the filming of A Chinese Ghost Story, left Xiangjiang. As a result, Lu Chun's first movie entered a rapid sprint. On December 29th, A Chinese Ghost Story was officially completed. Chapter 516. On November 25th, Lu Chun's first movie, A Chinese Ghost Story, officially started shooting at the old site of the famed temple in the Lion Rock Film and Television City in Hong Kong. On December 29th, A Chinese Ghost Story was officially completed. All in all, it only took slightly more than a month. During that period, filming was stopped for a few days due to an accident. This speed and efficiency was considered very high because A Chinese Ghost Story was not a shoddy fast food movie. In this movie, Lu Chun played many roles as director, male lead, screenwriter, and arranger. In order to make A Chinese Ghost Story, the hard work he put in was not something ordinary people could imagine. Especially in the later stages of filming, in order to catch up with the progress, Lu Chun often filmed from morning to night. He ate and lived on the set of the Lion Rock Film and Television City. It was common for him to stay up all night. Lu Chun had personally hand-drawn dozens of scripts. Together with Wan Xiaoquan and the art designers of the crew, the number of scripts was even more. Many of the script drawings were derived from his memory of the original A Chinese Ghost Story in the dream world. This made the shooting of the movie simpler and more accurate. Big also reduced the number of NGs during the shooting process. Many of the scenes were done in one go, which was why they could be completed in such a short period of time. However, finishing did not mean that it was over. The post-production special effects, editing, dubbing, and soundtrack were all very complicated work, especially in terms of special effects. It was normal for many blockbusters to take a year and a half to make special effects. Of course, there were not that many special effects for A Chinese Ghost Story, because more of the real scenes and props were used during the shooting process. However, the budget for special effects was not low. Lu Chun was not sure if it could be released in early February 2017. However, he could only hand over all the work to Wan Xiaoquan for the time being and flew back to Beijing. That was because December 31st was the day of the Global Chinese Original Songs Award ceremony. Lu Chun could not miss this music event no matter what. The Global Chinese Original Songs chart was formed by the reorganization and merger of the Asian Chinese Music Chart and the Chinese Original Music Chart. Its standard was unparalleled in the Chinese music circle and far surpassed other Chinese music awards. Just look at the organizers of the Global Chinese Top Songs chart: the Chinese Music Association, China Central Television, China Central Radio, and the Voice of China. There were 5 that started with the word medium, and the other joint organizations were even more dazzling. Any one of them was a well-known brand name. The first global Chinese top original songs chart of 2016 was held at the National Grand Theater. It was broadcasted live to the world by CCTV Variety Channel and Music Channel. In this grand ceremony of Chinese music, Lu Chun was undoubtedly one of the most prominent stars. In total, he was nominated for Best Male Singer, Best Album, Best Lyrics, and Best Composition. In addition, he was also nominated for Best Producer and Media Recommendation. In addition, Chun Fei was also nominated for Best Female Singer, Best Album, Best Stage Performance, and Media Recommendation. Among them, Best Album and Media Recommendation were in direct competition with Lu Chun. As the award ceremony approached, the blog had been flooded with the topic of the top original songs chart. The star singers of the domestic pop music industry took the lead to appear on the internet, making the topic extremely hot. Among them, the lovers' competition between Lu Chun and Chun Fei was undoubtedly a hot topic among the big topics. Especially for the best album, the fans were mainly divided into three factions. One faction supported Lu Chun, one faction supported Chun Fei, and the other faction was happy no matter who won the award. The best album must be My Face. Which album in 2016 can compare with Woman Flower? Isn't Woman Flower my Chin's credit? Hee. The best album is not the best lyrics and best composition. It doesn't matter who wrote the song, understand? Personally, I think the overall quality of The Ordinary Road is better than Woman Flower. The best album doesn't mean it's the best-selling album, so I bet on Lu Chun to win. I support Chun Fei. She sang so well. I love Woman Flower and Sea of Faces. Stop arguing. Whether it's The Ordinary Road or Woman Flower, I support them both. According to the selection rules of the Global Chinese Top Original Songs chart, there were at most 5 nominees for an award and only one winner. There would be no double yolk eggs or triple yolk eggs that people could not complain about. Therefore, the awards were very valuable. The high value also meant that the competition was fierce. It was said that it took the organizing committee a whole month to determine the nominees for the 24 awards of the Chinese Top Original Songs chart. As the biggest event of the year for Chinese pop bands, the Chinese Top Original Songs chart not only meant the highest glory of the Chinese pop music industry, but also rich benefits, such as high bonuses and official recommendations. Have you ever thought about how many awards you'll get? At night, in the love nest built by the two of them in the Zicheng Yuan district of the capital, Lu Chun, who had just flown back from Hong Kong, was leaning against the bed and reading the blog on his tablet. Chun Fei, who was wearing a nightgown, lay lazily on Lu Chun's body and naughtily used her hair to tickle his ear. She asked while tickling him, 2, 3, 4? Today was the first time for the two of them to meet in more than half a month. After their passionate love, they turned their attention back to the Global Chinese Top Original Songs chart that would be held the night after tomorrow. Chun Fei returned to the capital yesterday. She had not finished shooting all the scenes in Shengshi Long Song, but because she got 4 nominations for the Top Original Songs chart, the director happily gave her a leave. In the pop music industry, Chun Fei was also a person who had won many awards, but she was particularly interested in the first global Chinese Top Original Songs chart. She had another goal to strive for. Lu Chun said with a wry smile, "You think too highly of me. To be honest, I'm very satisfied if I can get one." Lu Chun was not pretending to be modest, but his real thoughts. Although he got 6 nominations on the Chinese Top Original Songs chart and was unparalleled among the younger generation of musicians, he faced strong competition for every award he was nominated for. It was still unknown who would win the award. Nominations and awards were 2 different things. In many music and film awards, it was common to hold a lot of nominations but get nothing in the end. The reasons involved were very complicated. Therefore, Lu Chun did not get carried away by the 6 nominations. He set his goal very low. He typed his answer on the keyboard and replied to a blog fan who asked the same question. Chapter 5:17. My goal is to win a prize. 9 o'clock in the evening is the peak time for netizens to surf the internet. In addition, mobile internet has become the mainstream trend. So as the largest social media in China, Wave's blog naturally has a high number of users. When Lu Chen's reply was sent out, it immediately attracted the attention of countless fans. Lu Chen's achievements today are inseparable from the support of loyal fans. Looking back on his journey of becoming famous, it is also closely related to the internet. He has the most supporters on the internet, one of which is represented by the growing number of Lu Jejun. Many of the backbone of this fan support group are his loyal fans when he was doing live broadcasts on the internet. After becoming famous, Lu Chen not only did not forget these fans, but also paid more attention to interacting with fans on the internet. Some time ago, when he stayed up late to shoot in Hong Kong, he did not forget to take some time to chat with fans on his blog and talk about his work. This approach has made Lu Chen's fans very loyal. They feel that their idol is not unattainable. He is more like a friend who they don't often meet in life, and they are very grounded. Tien, for Lu Chen's reply, the fans responded more enthusiastically, and there was a flood of comments on the blog. A prize? Boss, you're too modest. At least 3 awards, the best male singer, the best lyrics, and the best composition. What about the best album? Give the best album to me, Faye. After all, we should keep the goodies to ourselves. If I can't get more than 2 big prizes, I will live broadcast eating my keyboard on my blog. I will not go back on my word. Eat it too. Some comments are interesting and some are very exaggerated, but basically there are more support and praise and more confidence in Lu Chen to win the prize. This to a large extent reflects the popularity of Lu Chen today. Although he went to Hong Kong to shoot a movie some time ago, the number of fans of Wave's blog has increased. More and more people fell in love with Lu Chen's songs and his works. Many people got to know Lu Chen through the 2 popular TV series, Autumn in My Heart and Full House of Romance, and then listened to his songs. As a result, they became Lu Chen's fans. As his fans, they naturally hoped that Lu Chen could achieve success on the global Chinese top songs chart. After all, the first Chinese top songs chart represented the highest achievement in the Chinese pop music world. For Lu Chen, having such a group of passionate, kind, and adorable fans was undoubtedly a very heartwarming thing. He tried his best to reply to some of the comments, unknowingly forgetting the passage of time. When Lu Chen turned off the tablet, he found that Chun Fair, who was leaning against his arms, had fallen asleep. Saturday, December 31st, the last day of 2016. The rainy weather that lasted for many days finally ended, and the capital ushered in a rare sunny day at the end of December. The early winter was not too cold. Beautiful women in beautiful long dresses could be seen everywhere in the streets and alleys, letting their long legs exposed in the wind, showing off their youthful beauty. In the afternoon, traffic control was implemented on the roads around the National Grand Theater, and further places were blocked, so the traffic department had to send more people to clear the way. It was not dark yet, and the welcome signature wall in front of the main entrance of the National Grand Theater had been set up. A long red carpet was spread out for 100 meters, and countless media reporters with long cameras and short cannons were waiting on both sides of the red carpet, waiting for the ceremony to begin. Behind the reporters, there was a large number of audience, most of whom were young people. Many of them were holding fluorescent cards or support sticks with their names written on them. Their excited faces made the atmosphere of the scene more and more enthusiastic. A large number of security personnel were on guard because they knew that there were many stars walking on the red carpet today. It could be said that the top stars of the Chinese music industry from both sides of the Taiwan Strait and the 3 regions had gathered. Once the fans saw their idols and went crazy, the scene would not be easy to control. At about 5 o'clock in the evening, the lights on both sides of the welcome signature wall were turned on, and the people gathered in the square in front of the National Grand Theater had reached its peak. Fortunately, there were many large live broadcast screens arranged around to disperse the crowd. Otherwise, it would be hard to imagine how crowded both sides of the red carpet would be. At 6 o'clock, pedestrians were only allowed to exit in the restricted area. The first black welcome car drove to the starting point of the red carpet under the attention of thousands of people and stopped steadily. The door opened, and a middle-aged man in a suit got out and stood on the red carpet. In an instant, countless flashes lit up, shining on his face and body, and the middle-aged man was obviously used to it. He still smiled and waved to the audience around him. "Yu Ming!" The crowd immediately burst into earth-shattering shouts. This elegant middle-aged man was Yu Ming, a big brother in the domestic pop music industry. He made his debut in the late 1980s and rose to prominence in the early 1990s. In the past 30 years, he had released more than a dozen solo albums, conquered a large number of fans with folk songs and love songs, and also won the love of countless people. At the red carpet ceremony of the Global Chinese Original Songs Chart Award ceremony, the first guest to appear was Yu Ming, who also deserved his fame. Enjoying the baptism of the flashes and the cheers of the fans, Yu Ming walked the long red carpet alone in high spirits. After him, the big stars, superstars, and idols in the domestic, Hong Kong, and Taiwan appeared one by one. Tan Hong, Liao Jia, Su Yingying, Lu Gangsheng, and then the thunderous names kept ringing in the square in front of the National Grand Theater, and the light from the flashes never stopped. The Chinese music industry ushered in the first original songs chart and also ushered in the real glory moment. Lu Qin appeared in the 12th place. Although it wasn't his first time walking the red carpet, when the door opened and he got out of the car, he was greeted by the sound waves and dazzling lights, which made his heart jump. Tonight, the National Grand Theater was the stage of the Pop Music Festival. Was it also a stage that belonged to him? Lu Qin took a deep breath. He saw in the crowd, not far away, someone was desperately holding up a fluorescent card with his name written on it. Lu Qin. Lu Qin. The big shots in front of him did not affect Lu Qin's popularity. In the crowd of onlookers, who knew how many fans were shouting his name, as well as the long and short guns aimed at him, this was also a glorious moment for him. This feeling was intoxicating. Lu Qin smiled, then turned around and reached out his hand to the car. He did not come alone. Chen Feier. Chapter 518. Chen Feier. The cheers from the crowd suddenly became louder. Fluorescent signs with Chen Fei, O's name written on them, were raised high, and the pink light shone on the young faces. These were Chen Fei, O's hardcore fans. They had rushed to the front square of the National Grand Theater in advance and waited for several hours just for this moment. In waves of cheers, Chen Fei, who was wearing the latest Chanel dress, got out of the welcome car. Two moving cameras followed her, and Lu Qin walking hand in hand on the red carpet. This scene was transmitted to thousands of TV screens and the internet at the speed of light through the live camera. It was witnessed by hundreds of millions of people, and it also made countless fans of the two excited. Nobody knew when it started, but the scene of Lu Qin and Chen Fei holding hands began to appear frequently on the camera. Everyone also realized that the same scene would appear many, many times. The two held hands and walked on the long red carpet unhurriedly. The media reporters on both sides pressed the shutters desperately to record this beautiful moment. Today, Lu Qin was wearing a custom-made Armani suit. The master-level design matched with first-class fabric and excellent tailoring, which made him look even more handsome. He strode with his long legs, as if he was walking on the scene of a fashion show. Chen Fei, O's plain white sleeveless dress, was a perfect match for him. The hot queen of pop music was half-naked, and she was extremely sexy and charming. It made the cameramen on the scene feel that it was worth it no matter how much memory they used. Among the guests who came to the Global Chinese Golden Songs Award ceremony at the National Grand Theater, Lu Qin and Chen Fei were undoubtedly not the most famous or the most popular stars, but they were definitely the most eye-catching couple. They came to the front of the guest signature wall together, and the etiquette lady handed them autograph pens. Lu Qin and Chen Fei signed their names on it respectively, and then took a photo to leave a message. When they came down from the autograph table, a reporter from CCTV came over to interview them. The big camera was aimed at them first. The beautiful female reporter smiled and asked, "Mr. Lu Chun, Miss Chun Fer, how many awards are you going to take home today? Have you ever thought about it?" Lu Chun and Chun Fei looked at each other and smiled. The two of them had been asked this question countless times on the blog. The two of them had a total of 10 nominations, 2 of which overlapped. So in theory, they could take home a maximum of 8 awards. But this was obviously unrealistic. Lu Chun smiled and said, "My goal is to win one. I don't want to be satisfied with nothing." Chun Fei smiled lightly and said, "Me too." The female reporter laughed and said, "The two of you are really the best couple in the pop music industry. Your thoughts are the same, and you are both very humble. In the online media survey, your popularity index is very high." She asked again, "But if you can only win one award, which one will you choose?" This question was a bit tricky. "That depends on the judges," Lu Chan said. "I don't mean what I say. But personally, I hope it's the best male singer." Big and small awards were included in the global Chinese Gold Songs chart, and the best male singer was undoubtedly one of the most important and valuable awards. Modesty was necessary. Excessive modesty would appear hypocritical. If Lu Chan really had to choose among the 6 nominations, he hoped to win this award the most. Moreover, he had enough confidence. Looking back at the entire Chinese music industry in 2016, Lu Chun was definitely one of the most eye-catching male singers. After his second album, The Ordinary Road, was officially released, not only did it sell well, but it also surpassed last year's You Who Sat Next to Me in terms of evaluation. He was unique in the pop music industry and established his own position. If You Who Sat Next to Me was a work that made him famous, then The Ordinary Road was a work that made him stand out. His work even changed the rules of the original music chart. Undoubtedly, he deserved to win the Best Male Singer of the Year. Of course, there were many factors for winning the highest level of music awards like the Global Chinese Gold Songs chart. Strength, popularity, reputation, luck, and even connections were all important. But in Lu Chen's heart, the best male singer was the best affirmation of himself. "What about Miss Chun Fei?" The CCTV female reporter pointed the microphone at Chun Fei again. "Which one will you choose?" Chun Fei looked at Lu Chun and said with a smile, "The best female singer." Lu Chun chose the best male singer, and she chose the best female singer. It was a little unexpected, but reasonable. If Lu Chun was qualified to win the best male singer, then the best female singer was basically reserved by Chun Fei. In the pop music world in 2016, there was no more brilliant female singer than her. The album Woman Flower sold 5 or 6 million copies, creating the best result in the music industry in the past 10 years. No one could match the achievement of the crown, and it made Chun Fei-er's status as the heavenly queen unshakable. Most importantly, with the help of Woman Flower, Chun Fei completed a gorgeous transformation. She transformed from the queen of sweet songs to the queen of love songs, and her career took a new step. In the online survey of CCTV, Chun Fei received 49% of the support for the best female singer, leaving several other competitors far behind. Although this online survey did not affect the results of the awards, the torrential public opinion could not be ignored by any judge. Then I wish the two of you can achieve your wishes and win the best male singer and the best female singer at the same time. The CCTV female reporter gave her blessings and said, "Achieve a good story in the Chinese Gold Songs chart." Lu Chun and Chun Fei replied at the same time, "Thank you." If the two really won the Best Male and Female Singer award, it would really be a good story to talk about. And those fans sitting in front of TVs and computers, or holding tablets and mobile phones to watch the live broadcast, were also aroused by the blessings of the CCTV female reporter. Especially in the Lu Chun anchor room of Whale TV, it was instantly flooded with barrage. According to the past practice, The Luchin Anchor Room broadcast the whole process of the Global Chinese Gold Songs Chart award ceremony. Although Lu Chun was not the host himself, the number of online fans still exceeded the 1 million mark, and it was still increasing. Since Lu Chin's debut, this has been one of the important positions of his fan support group. Many fans began to pay attention to him when Lu Chun was unknown. Until now, they still have not abandoned him and love him more and more. The focus of everyone's discussion immediately shifted to the topic of the best male and female singers. You're tuning in to the Romance Rendezvous YouTube channel. We're so grateful for your support, and don't forget to subscribe to join us on this incredible journey through captivating stories. Your generosity through donations truly makes a world of difference, as it's the primary source of revenue that allows me to expand and enhance this channel for you. Thank you from the bottom of my heart for being a part of this adventure.